Wow. You see the lineup outside? It's been 4 years. COVID kind of interrupted this show, like so many other things. So I gotta say, it's so amazing to see you guys all here. Really, I mean, it's gratifying. This is our 5th show this year. We've done London back in May, I don't know, New York, Tokyo, Seoul. This is the last stop. But this is the biggest show because we are from Toronto. So we always want to make this show a little bit extra special, right? Because it's our home. And what's interesting about Toronto is Toronto seems to be at the epicenter of pop music because of the guy that's going to be here in a few minutes. Huh? How amazing is it to have 40 here today? Come on now. And in the past, it's been easier for us to get like luminaries from the United States, from all over the place, and to get this guy. He's just up the street, right? But when you compare a lot of the luminaries, especially in the United States, to what he's been able to do and his crew at OVO has been able to do, you know what? I could just tell you as a secret. He's done more. He's achieved more. It's an amazing story what's happened with Drake. How many songs has Drake recorded in the last 14 years? Anybody know? What's the number? 172. Hell no. Way more than that. How many songs has he put out? I don't know, released. Anybody know? Come on, let's get some numbers here. 300? No, he's had 278 on the chart. I'm talking how many released? 2,000. Anybody? That's just too much of a round number. Come on, man. It's got to be like some kind of weird number, like 1574 or something like that. Who stole my answer? Anybody have any idea? 714. That's a good guess. You see? Stand up. Give her a round of applause. That's a really good guess. Unfortunately, you're wrong, but that's okay. How much? Who's that up there? Oh, that guy's close. You know what? How much should we give? What should we give for the correct number? What kind of prize? No, let's work it out right now. What kind of prize? Like, this is such a weird number. What kind of prize should we give? That's one. Let's get 3 ideas. A what? A recording session at 40? I don't know. That might be hard to pull off. You have to go through some hoops. That might be, that might be opportunity. What else? We got 2. Placement. And did we say dinner? Need a 3rd one. That's easy. Everybody's going to get a picture of 40 today. Huh? I think that's on YouTube, no? That's it? I thought this was a creative crowd. What the heck? Where are we? Oh, what? Oh, man, now that's what we're talking about over there. Hey, stand up. Give that lady a round of applause. Stand up. She's got the best idea. All joking aside, guys, we're going to bring in 40 in a minute right now. We are going to skip through the historical information, all the biographical stuff. We'll touch a little bit on it, but you guys know a lot of that story. We want to find out what makes him tick. How did it come up with these things? Like, where did the beats come from, the creativity, all that kind, the aspect of music production. How are they able to create so much music? How are you able to stay as fresh? So we're going to keep it on that kind of tip today. And then we're going to open up the floor for questions. So there'll be a lot of questions for him. He's here for quite a while. He's a very generous man, giving us his time today. So that's going to happen in a few minutes. I'm going to call him in about 2 or 3 minutes. So before we say that, we want to also say who we are. My name is Ray Williams, and I am from Imsta. And Imsta is an organization of all the software companies in the world that get together, and we formed the trade organization. I've been in the software business, even though I don't look a day over 32, for 32 years. And who's laughing? Was I look like I was joking? So if we don't, like software companies are small, right? How many people in FabFilter? How many people work at FabFilter? Give me a number. 6? 3. Between 3 and 6. That's easy. Come on, between 3 and 6. You can't get this? 5. Give this man a t-shirt. I don't know. We have extra t-shirt? Here's the thing, though. Really, I want you to think about this, right? Think about this. These guys have, they have to live. They got kids. They got wives. Anybody here got a wife? At some point, you got to make some money. Okay, now if these guys can't make money making FabFilter plugins, what's going to happen? They're going to stop making them. If they stop making them, it hurts us. That's the logic of Imsta. That's the logic of buy the software used. So I say, without preaching, guys, throw some money in the till so we can keep the software stuff going, keep the plugins coming, and be able to make music at home in your bedroom and watch it go up the chart, just like 40 did. So, guys, Dina, sorry, did I just yell your name too loudly? I did?
So in order for this to move fast, I want us to be able to consume all the seats in the middle. So if you see any gaps, fill up the gaps so that people
Just push in.
sit. Yeah. That way
Push in.
we can get this started.
On the end.
If you don't mind. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
And you can bring him in.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions for me before we get the main man in the auditorium? You guys know what AI is? What does AI mean? Do you guys know who's also going to be here today? Who's going to this Illmind thing? Okay, you all have to go to the Illmind thing. What does he do? No, what is he doing with the AI?
He created a chatbot service.
What does it do?
He trained it to act and respond as if it were him.
He trained it. That's the word. Trained it to do what?
He trained it to act as if it were him. So like you could ask it a question, okay, and it will respond as if it were the real Illmind.
And what kind of questions he ask it?
Like industry questions, like how do I do this?
How about making music? Okay, this is a very important area. We worked very hard to get this man up here. I want to go myself because I just want to find out what the heck is going on. AI is not going anywhere. It's just like, I don't know. It's like herpes. Like, shit, this is not going away. It's here to stay. You got to kind of live with it, right? Now, just like anything else, you know these cameras, right? Where are these cameras? This camera right here. There was a time when the digital cameras were crap. So we're in a time now where AI is crap. However, the digital cameras could always improve. The film cameras could improve, but only this much. The digital cameras could improve this much. So AI, yes, AI is dumb right now, but AI could multiply its power and its intelligence by a factor of 1,000,000. Therefore, it's a technology that you just simply cannot ignore. You ignore it at your peril. So I would say jump in. What time is this thing? I think it's 3:30. 3:30, make sure you're in this room. I mean, you guys might have other things to do, but if you're so inclined, make sure you're here, all right? We also have Coke and Beats at the end, which is always great. Eli Brown is also going to show you right after this event how he produces. There are 30 or 40 companies here. Make sure you go through. Avid is here, Fat Filter, Universal Audio, a whole bunch of people are here. Salamone, Learn. Who wants to tune vocals? Everybody, of course. Go down there and see how they're doing it. Antares is here. Autotune is somewhere over there across the hall. So it's a an event. You can't see everything, but at the very least, let's just get you to touch the areas that you're interested in and get better and better and better. Any other questions for me before we bring 40 in here? My contact, you go to imsta.org, and you go to our people or something like that. I'm right there. Ray R. Williams at imsta.org. Yes, sir. Imsta does a lot of speaking in schools, like the music production schools. We give kind of like, industry advice, if you will. Because a lot of people are trying to get, how many people are trying to get into the music industry? How many people heard the music industry is hard to get into? Okay. How many people are trying to get into the pizza industry? How many people heard that the pizza industry is hard to get into? How many industries are easy to get into? None. All industries are hard to get into. So don't despair, just work hard. 40, come on down here, man.
Where am I sitting?
You're sitting over there. I don't know, this is your mic. Hopefully it works.
I got a laptop too. I don't know if that's on.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hello? How y'all doing?
Come on now, let's get a standing ovation.
Oh, come on. That's not necessary. Hey, that's not necessary. Now I gotta stand up. Madness. Thank you, Ray. Very kind of you, sir. Thank you, everybody. That's very kind. All right. Hold on. I gotta find the right spot over here. I'm getting a little.
Some feedback.
Yeah.
I might have to turn this thing on.
Or is this lab on? No. Check. No.
Lab's on?
Oh, that's for you. My bad.
Okay, man, so how are you?
I'm all right. It's been a long summer, It's been a long year, but I'm good.
Kill the music a little bit. All right. How are you? Let me start over.
I'm good.
Yeah. How is everything? You guys just put out a record.
So that's why my answer to how am I is not like wonderful, because I'm still exhausted and beat up. But other than that, I'm great.
Now, we asked a skill testing question in here earlier. How many songs did Drake released?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
I don't know, you showed me that list of achievements and stuff of mine, but I'm like, dude, I have no idea about any of that stuff. I know none of those things, Can
we go to the next slide? I mean,
yeah, like all that
this
stuff.
is quite remarkable, right? For some people from Toronto. It's amazing.
Just on the whole Toronto thing, it's funny when I'm sorry, the feedback is just gonna drive me crazy. When we first started and found a lot of success, nobody really understood that we were from Canada or even from Toronto. It was sort of unfathomable. Even Canadians, Jermaine, my brother, even Canadians, right? Nobody thought, CBC didn't think we were Canadian. You understand what I'm saying? It was unfathomable. There's no way these kids from Canada could have done it. What American mixer, what American manager, what American anything were you guys using? Who did you know? What was the secret? There was no secret. It was all kids from Canada. Like that's it, from front to back. The writers, the producers, the songs, the engineering, the mixing, the studios, whatever you name, it was all right here in this city from like ground zero. And nobody really could fathom that at the time. It took probably, I would say, almost 10 years. It was about almost, I don't know, let's say 6 or 7 years. It was more than 5 years until the Canadian media and Canada in general started to like accept the fact that like we weren't just an American product with a Canadian kid. Like we were actually a Canadian product, like wholeheartedly, and we still are. So I just want to add that little touch to Toronto there.
That is awesome, and this is an awesome achievement. Now, I want to go back. I don't want to spend too much time on the early days, but how did you get involved with music as a kid?
As a kid, I just found like an intersection of things that I enjoyed. So the first, like, I was walking down the street and I found an old TV in the trash, like an old little black and white television. And then I found an old amp and I found a couple old speakers, and I was able to like find an amp that like kind of worked, and I plugged in the speakers and I was able to like hook it up to the TV, and then I was able to like route like the video game audio to like the amp. And like once I figured out how to do that at like the age of like 8 or 9 years old, I was like, oh, this is the coolest shit of all time. And then I love math and I love physics, which are really important to my sort of journey in audio. I love computers. I had cousins who were really into computers. So when I was about 6, I was like programming DOS code and shit. It's like before Windows, and like, you know, so I understood the concepts of computers and the language and coding. I loved math and science. I loved like playing with equipment and like from an electrical engineering standpoint. And my grandfather played piano, so I had access to pianos and was in piano lessons when I was young. So it was this intersection of all these different things for me. And then my father is a filmmaker, and he took me to a mix one time. So when you're making a film in the editing process, you do the audio mix, and you go to a big mix theater where you have a console in a theater with a massive screen. So you could see the film with the proper audio in the, you know, 7:1 or whatever format they're playing in the theaters then. And they had a huge, probably an S5 console, still the same one I use today. No, I was older than that. But they had a huge desk in the room, and I just fell in love with the console, sort of like a kid would fall in love with like the cockpit of an airplane and want to be a pilot, you know what I mean? Sort of same thing. And that was probably around when I was 8 or 9 as well. So those things for me all pointed me in that direction. And then I started DJing when I was 12, and like, yeah, so it was just like, I'm DJing, my friend had a student who lived with him that would come from Japan and had turntables in an MPC, so I got to see the MPC and the turntables when I was very young, and then all these other things, and I just decided that that's sort of my path. Like I started producing records when I was about 12 or 13, and I had my own rap group by the time I was 16, and then we were in the city performing and putting out albums and doing shows till I was 18 or 19. So it's like, like I've been doing this since I was probably about 12 years old. So, and I'm 40 now, funny enough, because of my name.
40.
Yeah, a long time.
For a lot of people, you know, me included, the parents always tell you, you know, music's not a serious thing. You got to become a doctor, a lawyer, accountant. How many people get this? Everybody. Your parents were not like this?
Well, it's funny. My whole family are entertainers, okay? So in my family, we would have a joke, which is we're culturally rich and financially poor. Because if you're a Canadian musician or entertainer on any level, like, you're broke, okay? It's just like the way this shit works. Especially if you're an actor, because 99% of actors are unemployed, which is another funny thing. So my whole family are in arts and entertainment, and therefore they wanted me to go nowhere near arts and entertainment. So I was raised in a family that could embrace the concept of being a musician or being an artist on some level, but like did not want me to. So I was kind of supported, but kind of not. My father is very different perspective from my mother. So my father was like, yeah, math, doctor, science, you know, he's very different than my mother, who was like, oh, whatever you want to be, I'll support you, you know? So it was like, I came from that dynamic of like a very supportive mother and a father who was like, no, not entertaining that at all. So I sort of had to prove them both wrong because I don't think either of them really wanted me to be in this situation because everybody in my family was in this situation, which was like, you know, you live check to check, right? You're just trying to figure out where the next one's coming from as an artist. And I wanted more security for myself. So where that actually translates to my career is the reason why I'm an engineer and not just a songwriter and a producer. Because songwriting and production for me was subjective. You might like my music, you might not like my music. You know, you might like the lyrics, you might not like I don't write lyrics, but you understand my point. And when it comes to engineering, that's a skill set. It's not so subjective. It's sort of like, are you a good engineer or are you not? Can you capture audio or not? Do you know how to use an EQ and a compressor or not? And although there is creativity involved in engineering and obviously in mixing, which is a little bit more removed from this conversation, but I wanted to be able to provide studios, let's put it that way. If I can provide a studio and record and do whatever the person or client wants, now I have a way where I can make money. Now I have a way where I can have a career that's not just did you like this beat I made or did you not like it, right? Which is like, I'm not gonna leave myself that as the only option. So that's why I went into engineering wholeheartedly because of my childhood and coming from an artistic family. I couldn't just be an artist, I needed more. I had to stack it up there. And it was funny because when I went to Trebas, I'll never forget when my teacher pulled me out because I was in the engineering course at Trebas. They had a production stream at that time and had an engineering stream. And they pulled me out, or my teacher pulled me aside one day and was like, you know, I think you're an incredibly talented producer. You should be in the production course. You're in the wrong course. And I was like, nah, I'm in the right course. You can't teach me how to produce, brother. That's creativity. I know how to do that already. What I need to learn how to do is this engineering shit. Right. And he's like, well, you can't do both. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do both. And my first Grammy says engineer/producer, so.
Your mom was an accomplished actress. You guys want to see his mom? Yes. You want to see his mom? Yes. I don't.
Oh my God. What's going on? What are you about to put up there?
Do that. Run that next slide.
Oh my God. I hope it's a Christmas story. Yep. Bam bam.
This is mom.
There's my mom's. Oh my God, you're playing clips?
This is a surprise
Holy
for you. This
smokes.
Is his mom. Look, you guys have seen her.
Oh my God. Oh no, what's that? Holy smokes, no. Listen, if you guys have ever seen my mother in anything, it's from A Christmas Story, which is a very classic movie.
Amazing.
You know, like, you're gonna shoot your eye out, you're gonna shoot your eye out. Yeah.
And we're gonna see his dad. This is a
mom.
surprise, he doesn't know this. Show me his dad.
This is very sweet, guys. This is very sweet.
Famous actress.
Famous is a big word, but there's Pops. There's the OG right there.
Come on.
That interview is hilarious if you're about to play that. Jesus. Yeah, that's not my father. No, that's my father. There he is. Oh, I got that watch on my desk. Yeah, what a sweetie. He's pretty tough. Everyone was scared of him, but I just call him a sweetie.
How's your papa doing, man?
He's doing okay. He's getting up there. He's 86 now, so he's not a spring chicken anymore, but he's still hanging on.
But he's made a lot of films.
He's made a few films. He's done a lot of work. Like, he worked my whole life. He wasn't around much, but he made a film of significance in 1970 that was sort of still heralded as one of the greatest Canadian films of all time. It's called Going Down the Road, and it sort of revolutionized the Canadian film industry in the rest of the world. So it was the first film to actually do well in the box offices of America, to be a successful film, and he made it by himself on his visa in 1969 and 1970. And he just racked up his credit card and made the movie completely independently. And it's a really, really incredible film. And yeah, so that's sort of his legacy, you know?
Awesome. How much of your dad is in you?
How much?
How much of your dad is in you, the way you operate?
It was funny, I was talking with my sister about this the other day. Both my parents as individuals are interesting people, but together they created some amazing children, I feel, with me and my sister, and we sort of reap the benefits of both of them, you know? So my father gave me work ethic, and like, you know, drilled into me that I had to work that much harder than everyone else, and I had to so that's what I took from my father, was work ethic and understanding about that type of stuff. My mother was much more of like the creativity and spiritual and so on and so forth. So
Awesome. Let me go to the next slide. So I just want to show you that because I know.
well, that was very sweet.
Very important. So let's get back to you now. So you've gone through the parents thing. You're a teenager. Are you going to be an engineer, or how did you move from engineer to producer?
So I stopped producing for a while. So my rap group that I was in when I was a kid, I was like the producer. Like I never rapped. Just let's get that out of the way first of all. I was like the producer, you know. And then we had like all the rappers and the crew. We were like the little like Toronto Wu-Tang, and probably the most relevant comparison. And so I only produced the records. And I provided the studio and engineered and mixed everything too. I mean, the funniest part is the first album we actually did, I didn't know the difference between mono and stereo yet. And then after we finished the album, I was 15 when I made that album, and 16. And after I found out what mono and stereo was, I was like, oh, fuck. And I went back to the album and like listened to every song to be like, oh, how much did I fuck up? How much is fucked up, you know? Because I didn't know that, I didn't even have the concept at that point when I was making these records. Wait, what was the question you asked me? I'm so sorry.
I asked you how you transitioned from like
Okay, so
engineer
at
to
that
producer.
time, right, I'm just the producer, okay? I literally don't even know what stereo and mono is. And when I finished that stage of my career, which was being a kid in the basement cutting records with his boys, and like selling CDs downtown on Yonge Street all day and doing concerts in basements and shifty venues. I went to school. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this for real. So I'm gonna go to school. So now I'm like 18, 19, 20. I was in high school for a while. So I was about 2021, I guess, actually, when I went to Trevis. So when I went to Trevis, I stopped producing, because I wanted to focus on engineering. And then I got an internship, which is the next phase of my journey with a man named Gadget. And when I got to, I love noise for Gadget. Yep. Hey.
He's behind you.
Oh, there's the boss. God, I love him. And OG for real. And when I got to Gadges, I stopped producing completely. Like, it wasn't a thought for me. I wasn't really interested in it. I was just focused on mixing, engineering, understanding how to use all this shit. And I'd also transitioned from a program called Sonic Foundry Acid, which was then Sony Acid after Sony bought Sonic Foundry. And it was like a loop-based, very similar to half of Ableton. It was interesting. It was very sort of before its time. We're talking before Fruity Loops or anything like that. And so I would chop up loops in like SoundForge, and then I would dump them into Acid, and I would program that way. And I switched to Pro Tools. So when I switched to Pro Tools, like as a producer, I was like crippled. I could not do anything. I didn't know how to make music. I didn't understand the MIDI side of Pro Tools yet. And it took me, I had to like restart my production journey. I'd sort of reteach myself how to produce records again. And so in that phase, I really backed away from it. I stopped making records. I wasn't working with any artists. I was just in the studio with Gadget. I was learning. And then the next phase, well, I produced 2 records, a couple of records with Gadget for Divine Brown. And, but outside of that, I completely backed away. And then even when I found Drake, which would be the next phase after the Gadget phase, I was his engineer. And in the beginning, Drake introduced me to everybody, oh, this is 40, my engineer. And even after I had produced #1 hit records for him, it was still, this is 40, my engineer. Like, I was never the producer. I was always the engineer. And I was sort of like happier that way, because like the producer is like, you know, you have to like accept this like artist and like public face thing. I was like, fuck all that, I'm good. I'm the engineer. It lets me like be quiet in the background and like navigate without everybody knowing what I'm doing. And yeah, so that's, I forgot the question again. But that's how I sort of separated engineering and producing.
Now, Gadget's a difficult guy to work with, right? What was it like working with him? And is that where the whole 40 thing came from?
Okay, so
40 days, 40 nights?
40 came through the Gadget experience. So with Gadget, I worked with 2 artists. He gave me 2 artists to work with when I was in his studio. Other than being his intern and running the whole studio, I was also like responsible for Jellystone's project, and I was responsible for Divine Brown's project as far as engineering, tracking, managing all the files, all of that. And throughout that process, Jelly's camp named me 40. So it came through. It came through by way of Gadget. But working with Gadget was interesting. It was again a Canadian-American conversation. We were here in Canada. Gadget mixes inside the box. He uses, at that time, he was completely in Nuendo, but then when Cubase sort of like evened out with Nuendo, you probably understand that dynamic of that race between Cubase and Nuendo within Steinberg, but he jumped back to Cubase at some point. But either way, to me, Gadget is like Nuendo to the death, you know? Because Nuendo ultimately was usually a little more powerful than Cubase, had a few more buses, more options, more channels, essentially, right? And so he's in the box using Nuendo at a time when nobody else is doing that shit. And I mean nobody, okay? Not in America, not anywhere, all right? And that is a function of being here in a place where we don't have a lot of studios. We don't have a lot of big SSLs floating around the city. So we didn't have the option, and we're sort of forced into a place of having to work that way. So what Gadget taught me, and what the point I'm trying to make is that he worked you so hard that by the time you get to America, you're ahead of everybody else. No one else can keep up with you. And that's what he ultimately gave me, right? It's funny, I always talk about this hockey coach I had in comparison to Gadget. His name was Jack, and my father was like sort of hard ass, like loved Jack, and I just like, anyway, Jack was a piece of shit. And, but what I'll say is, we won the city championships. And that was sort of a big lesson in sports for me, was like, yo, I hate this coach. He beats his kid on the ice. He fucking is brutal, all of us. Like, it's just, I'm not having fun. This is the worst experience. I quit. I'm done with this shit, you know? And then we win everything and like destroy every other team. And then you're kind of like, oh. Oh, I get it. Like, I get what this was all about now. And so Gadget was a very similar experience where, I mean, like, you're in pain, man. Like, you're every day, you're like, I'm done, I'm out of here, I quit, I can't do this. How can I continue on doing this? And then you get to America and you're like, that's it? You guys are done? Oh, we're just getting started, let's go, you know? Like, because you've been through that process and someone's explained to you how to go that far. And
you guys are mixing in on laptops.
Everything was on laptops. And then it got to a point where, you know, when you're down south, you start to understand, like, because of the resources, because of the work ethic, it just set me and Drake apart. And that Gadget mentality is what I instilled into Drake, right? Which was like, yo, there's a way where we can outwork everybody. We can stay later, we can go farther. And like, we've put out 3 albums in the last like 16 months or 18 months, right? It's like most of our peers, for me and Drake, are putting out albums every like 3-4 years at this rate. So it's like the rate we work at is how we got to the top. And when people are often like, oh, like, no, what was the secret? And Drake's part of the Illuminati, and oh, it was because of Lil Wayne, or it was like, yeah, okay, sure. But it's like, yo, the real answer is you just keep working and you don't stop. And what people don't get about this business is you gotta win to get in, and then you gotta win again, and then you gotta win again, and you gotta win again. And for me and Drake, we had to win like 20 fucking times before anybody would pay attention. You know, it was crazy how many times we had to win before people were like, oh, maybe Drake is the guy. It was like, what? How much more do we have to do? And we still feel that way at times, but it's weird because it's like now he's so big, it's almost like he's too big. So it's like, you know, it's like when you hear a song on the radio too much and then you fucking hate it. So it's like we're offending with that side of things too. But in the beginning, it was very difficult for people to pay attention to how much we were dominating the industry. And what ultimately happened was, by the time people looked up, there was no conversation. We were just dominating the entirety of the whole thing. Right? So that was a funny experience. But the point is, that comes from Gadget. That comes from his work ethic. And that comes from, like, you know, he'd make me sit there one night. I worked, I don't know, it must have been a 24-hour shift already. I'm exhausted. I'm, you know, 22 or something. And at this point, I'm living in an apartment on Spadina, on top of a Popeyes at Spadina in college. What a place to live on top of, I will say. But you do what you got to do in this world, right? And so I'm walking back from Camden Street, which is where the studio and Chris Smith Management was, at Spadina and Richmond. And so I'm walking back up to college, and I get almost up to college, and Gadget calls me. He's like, come back right now. And I'm like, oh, I haven't slept in a day. I'm so tired. You know, I'm dreaming about getting to my bed, right? I'm so close. I've walked all the way. It's in the sun's beating. It's daytime. I haven't slept, you know? And I'm like, okay. I turn around. I walk back to the studio. I go up into the studio, and he's got his big CD changer out on the producer's desk. He had this old school CD with like 100 discs in it, right? It was like a carousel thing. It would flip around. You could program. And anyway, so he plugs in this thing with the little digital spiff and hooks it all up to the mains. And he's like, okay, we're going to listen to some music. And I was like, okay. I'm so confused. I'm so angry. I'm like, why the fuck did this guy bring me here right now? I'm so tired, you know? Like, I'm not even getting paid at this point. Just keep it in mind, okay? And so he starts playing music. And an hour goes by, and 2, and 3. I think we sat there probably for about 9 or 10 hours. And he played me all sorts of shit. It was it's a long time ago. Dungeon Family. He was like deep into Dungeon Family, which is like CeeLo and Atlanta and like Goody Mob and shit. Like people who understand like the Outcast, right? It's like that world of music. But it was a ton of shit we're going through. Burt Bacharach and fucking Steely Dan, all kinds of shit he's playing, right? Because Gadget is like very intelligent musically. And by the time we're done the 10 hours, he looks at me and says, now your ears are tuned. And he walks out. And I was like, what the fuck? And I never really got it. But years later, and that was Gadget's method of teaching as well, he would never lay it out for you, never explain it to you. He'd never be like, oh, do this with your EQ or set your compression. He would never tell you things, right? Like you had to kind of figure it out, you know? Everything was coded. But the point was, that was the greatest mixing lesson I ever got from Gadget, which was like, tune your ears. Once you've tuned your ears, once you've listened to your favorite song so much, go back to yours. You're like, oh shit, my snare's too loud, my bass is too quiet, it's fucked up, I know how to fix it immediately. Because you've listened to something that you are so comfortable with, you are so accustomed to, you know how that sounds in your car, you know how that sounds in your living room or wherever you consume your music or your AirPods or whatever. You know how it should sound there because you've listened to it so many times. And then you go back to your song and it reveals all of the mistakes and all of the things that you want or feel you should change. And did he have to teach the lesson to me that way? No. Will I ever forget it? Fuck no. So, I mean, that working for Gadget was difficult, but it was incredible. And you learned incredible things. And the work ethic he instilled in you, as I said, by the time I went down south, nobody could keep up with me. And that was a shock because I thought I was going to have a hard time keeping up with them. And then the other part of it was because Gadget is, he's a legend. He's the best. I mean, like, he'll do some wild shit. He's a character, right? So it's like, because he's such a character and an intense individual, when you're dealing with, like, diva artists, which Drake is not one, may I add, but when you're dealing with diva artists, it's kind of like, oh, it just rolls off your back. Like, you've dealt with Gadget, right? Once you've dealt with Gadget, like, nothing is gonna faze you, you know? So it's like, nothing phases you, you work harder than everyone else, and you're coming from a place where you had to use tools that were easily accessible, right? So you can, I don't know, it makes you a really powerful person in this business when coming from the school of Gadget, you know? There's many, many, many more reasons, but to touch on why it's difficult to work with Gadget and how that translates into like a positive experience ultimately.
Yeah, he's like the tough coach.
Yeah.
One Gadget story we had with Imsta, we had Dave Pensado come up here. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked. Dave Pensado wanted to meet Gadget. So we sat him down at 306. Gadget's upstairs. Gadget never came down.
That's Gadge.
Guy was downstairs.
Yep.
He's not feeling like coming down. Anyway, tell me the early stuff with Drake. What did you see something in him? I mean,
so with Drake was simple. Drake was simple. Okay, first of all, I remember sitting outside a Remix project with like one of my ex-girlfriends from high school who would come to see me for a coffee. It was when I was working at Remix, and I'm like, yo, this guy Drake that I'm working with, he's gonna be bigger than Jay-Z. She's like, yeah, okay, buddy. I'm like, yo, he's gonna be bigger than Jay-Z. Trust me, trust me, trust me. I was that far sold on Drake from day one.
Why? What
But
did you
he was different than everyone else. When I heard City is Mine on the radio, I was in Jelly's basement. And I heard it on the radio, and I was like, holy fuck, what is this? I gotta find this kid. Holy shit, this is incredible. It was something about the way he was rapping, it didn't sound Canadian. It didn't sound like everything else that was coming out of the city. It didn't sound like a local rapper. And what happens when you start traveling, and this is for all genres of music, not just rap or hip hop, but when you're traveling like I do, and you're on tour, and you're going from city to city to city, and you get in the truck in so-and-so city, and they turn on the radio, and there's like, a song comes on, and you're like, oh, that's the local rapper. Every city you know. Every fucking one. You know the local rapper right away. Like there's a line, a threshold you have to cross to get into this business. From like, you're popping in your city to like, oh no, this shit's gonna go. And you can tell everything in every city, and you're like, it's pretty good. It's not gonna go, but it's pretty good, you know? They're the local rapper. And so Drake had made music that to me, I had understood at that time, no, this is bigger than that. He's fucking good. And no relevance to this, but there was something about it. He was very articulate. So, which is like a big, a drastic comparison to today's world of like, mumble rap or whatever that sort of phase happened when people started calling it that. But at that time, you could understand every fucking word he said, man. And like when he was rapping to you, he was speaking to you. It was like he was just speaking sentences to you, like a normal conversation, but the shit rhymed and it sounded good. Like his way with words was different. It was fucking incredible. And I was like, I want to work with this guy so badly. And funny enough, he was looking for me because I was working with like every rapper in the city at that time, whether it was like the main guys like Socrates and Chaos and Jelly and Cardi or whatever the case was for all of them. I was intertwined with all that sort of mainstream world through Gadget and Christmas Management. But then I was also in the underground. I'm working with Hustle Man and Point Blank and all the different hoods around the city. I'm everywhere, right? And my own crew, which was, pretty eclectic from everywhere from the West End to the East End. And so I'm all over the city. Everybody knows who I am. And so Drake's kind of like, I need to find 40. And I'm like looking for Drake.
Wow.
And then the story's actually hilarious. Him and Oliver, who I went to high school with and was a friend of mine, they were like beefing over a girl. And or like, it was Oliver's girlfriend, but Drake was like hawking her down. And Oliver's like, I hate him, he's trying to chop my girl, da 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 da. I was like, okay, relax. And then so they finally like link up, and he gets his number because they like squash their beef. And then he gets his number, so he gives me Drake's number. And he's like, I got his number. I'm like, give it to me. So he gives me Drake's number, and I call him, and he doesn't answer. Call him again, he doesn't answer. I'm like, fuck this. And then Oliver's like, did you ever connect with him? I'm like, no, I never answered, man. I called him twice. Like, call him again. Put your ego to the side. I'm like, fuck. So I called him again. He finally answered. And he was like, come to the Replacement Girl video shoot. And I was like, all right, cool. So I go to the Replacement Girl video shoot, and I gave him a CD with 10 beats, and they were all trash. And he didn't like any of the beats. He wanted studio time. He wanted an engineer, which goes back to the beginning where I was like, beats are pretty fucking subjective, but if you're an engineer, that's a skill set that people need. So what gets me into the door with my brother Drake? Not my production, my engineering. If I wasn't an engineer, this story ends right there. And he needed studio time. So my brother, P-Mac, he's in here somewhere. Saw him, now I can't find him. Had a little studio in Parkdale that I was working out of, and in Liberty Village now, that I was working out of. And so I brought Drake down there and I charged him $200 a day. Here you are, P. I love you, P. I charged him $200 a day for each session. And so we did 4 sessions. And I charged him $200 a session 4 times. And I realized on the 4th session, like, that's it. Like, that's all his money. He ain't got no more money, I took all his bread. So I was like, all right, well, if you want to keep working, like, let's do it. I'm down. Like, let's do it. Like, fuck, I got my little, I was living on Tyndall at the time, and I had a little setup in my apartment on Tyndall, and we had access to P's studio across the street, and like, it was like, we'll try and figure it out. And so we'd work a little bit like that, and it was just like, we just made a pact. Like, okay, we'll do it together. I got you, you got me. Like, let's do this together then. And that's sort of how we started our journey there. But I just mentioned that story because of the engineering versus producing thing is kind of funny.
I'm curious about what kind of gear you working on back then?
So back then, I'm just working off my laptop with Pro Tools. That's it.
Nothing else outside?
All pirated, try before you buy. H2O.
Hey, this is an Imsta event.
What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? Say that again, please, sir.
It's an Imsta event. There's going to be a bolt of lightning coming.
Yeah, I know. But what you have to understand is that at that time, you know, I was a kid with not much trying to figure it out. And it's the worst event to have this conversation. I agree, Ray, I'm sorry. But the point is that, you know, the H2O, try before you buy mantra,
I remember.
I will say, stuck with me. And I buy a lot of software. And I purchase so much software for no reason. I have so many licenses that A, the companies would NFR and gift me in a snap of a finger. But B, I probably even have the licenses already, and I just buy more. And I buy so many licenses because I make money in this business now, and these companies are small, and a lot of people don't understand that about them. And so I'm always trying to reinvest and support the industry as a whole from a technical standpoint. But when I was a kid, yeah, it was
That's okay.
it was tough. But
You're forgiven.
thank you. But this is really pre-Drake though. Once me and Drake start popping, and not even popping, once me and Drake start working, I'm slowly acquiring things I need. You know, like I bought my Renaissance pack. And I bought this, you know, like I'm buying things slowly because I found myself in a position where I didn't want to have any chance of error. So I wasn't willing to not have updates. I needed everything updated. I needed everything new. I needed everything updated, proper, functioning properly. And so I sort of fell into that world pretty quickly. But what I was using back then was simply Pro Tools. I told you guys I transitioned from Sonic Foundry Acid to Pro Tools when I was about 18 or 19 years old. And that was Pro Tools version 6. It was the first LE version, which was 6. So it was the first version with an M-Box or a 002. It was post the 001 era is when I got into Pro Tools. But I still was, I learned on 5.3. So I'm a Pro Tools 5 on my inception, and then I taught myself 6 and learned how to produce in 6. Melodyne. Melodyne has been on my hip from day one. I've been using Melodyne for almost 20 years, it feels like. I might not be wrong about that. I think it's, 20 years for sure. When did Melodyne start shipping with Pro Tools?
2002.
Okay, there you go. 18 years I've been using Melodyne. So that's like a very, very, Drake made me a jersey the other day when Mello was on, I can't remember, it's a Golden State jersey. Mello on Golden State? Yeah. So when he was on Golden State, he made me the Carmelodyne jersey. But anyway, so that's my jam right there. Thank you. It was on the Nuggets. That's the jersey. Yeah, it's not Golden State. Thank you. I knew he was on Golden State. And so a lot of Melodyne, a lot of Pro Tools from an engineering and technical standpoint. Production standpoint, I've been using the same 2 plugins since So Far Gone.
And that's what we're going to talk about next, by the way, So Far Gone. But go ahead.
The
Which
same two plugins.
Everybody take notes.
I'm not talking about compressors. Like, sure, I was using RVox and REQ then, you know, back then. Not so much anymore. But for production, there were 2 sound sources, like synthesizers I was using, plugins, religiously, and I still use them to this day. In fact, on every single new Drake song I've ever produced, I've used them. And it'll probably, I've said it before, I've told people lots of times they're my favorite 2 go-to plugins, but it's usually like shocking for people, but they're Expand and Hybrid, which are 2 stock plugins that get shipped with Pro Tools. I'm not sure if they ship Hybrid anymore, but they ship Expand still. And it's a very basic synth and sample playback engine, and it's doesn't have much, just some bass sounds, some pads, some leads, some cool strings and horns and orchestral. It's like got a great array of stuff, so you can sort of get everything out of it, kind of like Sample Tank or something like that. It's not as elaborate as Omnisphere by any means. But for me, it had 2 categories. It had soft pads and soft leads. Okay, and now I'll say myself personally as a producer, like I will define myself by soft pads and soft leads, you know? And like most people are like, Drake's soft. It's like, no, it's me. I'm the soft one.
That's awesome.
I'm the one who likes R&B and shit. Like, you know, that's me. I'm that guy, you know? Drake's over there like trying to rap and like do all that other shit. I'm like, yo, dude, chill out, man. Let's make Marvin's Room, you know? Like, I'm on that side, right? So because of the soft leads and soft pads categories, they were just so crucial to me because I could just find my sound out of those two categories every time. And you can actually, like, if you like scour through Expand, you'd be like, oh shit, that's this song. Oh shit, that's Connect, and that's Marvin's Room, and that's Successful, and that's this, and that's The Motions. Like, they're all in there, like every single one of them. And I'm pretty like brazen with presets. And I feel like you earn that right. You know, once you understand synthesis and you know how to really dive into the shit all the way, like, yeah, you want to use a preset? Use a fucking preset. Fuck off, you know? Like, to me, that's not what it's about. It's about the music I'm going to create with it and how I'm going to use the preset and maybe what plugins I'm going to put in it and how I'm going to affect it and what I'm going to do. So I'm much more focused on that than I am on like the bare bones synthesis. I don't, because I love synthesis too. When I'm sitting in front of a Juno or something, I can dial stuff, or my Moogs, I can dial it in. But when I'm on software and I'm in the box, I'm flipping presets, man. I'm finding the shit I like. And Expand and Hybrid for me were really powerful tools from a music making standpoint.
That's awesome, because those are made by Peter Gorgas. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Peter Gorgas from Wizoo.
Oh, no
A
way.
friend of mine. So
Crazy.
Peter, you should have been here, buddy. Shout out for Pro Tools, Melodyne, Expand, and Hybrid.
There we go.
That's the result.
That was my toolkit.
Yeah.
And maybe some give me a Renaissance pack in there, and that's all I need.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So tell me about So Far Gone. What was that? What happened there?
So Far Gone is actually another, all these things are coming full circle here. It's great. So Far Gone was when I started producing again. So I hadn't produced in many years. I hadn't been making records. I hadn't been making records for Drake. I didn't produce anything on Comeback Season. I engineered and tracked and put all those records together. I mean, like, look, there's another side conversation there about what is production, right, versus engineering. So there's a world where you could say I was producing a lot of those records, but nonetheless, I wasn't creating, I wasn't programming. Let's put it that way. I like to draw lines between programmers and producers because they are very different to me. But I wasn't programming, so I wasn't making the music myself at the time. When I started making it again was So Far Gone. And the reason I started making it is because when me and Drake got discovered by Jazz and Wayne, so Jazz is Jay Prince's son, who me and Drake discovered via MySpace. And Jazz is like, oh, I know Lil Wayne. And we're like, okay, sure, buddy. And then he sent us, I'm like, yo, who the hell is this dude in a tank top on fucking FaceTime? Like, get this guy out of here. Put some clothes on. I was like so offended by him. And then he sends us Lollipop. And but months before Lollipop drops. And at the time, like hearing Lollipop by Lil Wayne was like, who the fuck is this? This is not Lil Wayne. Who is this? Is that, oh my God, is it Wayne? I don't know if this is, like, we didn't know, me and Drake did not know if that was Wayne or not. We didn't know if that was a real song, right? It was just a very left field, why it was so successful for him. And so anyway, a couple months later, Lollipop drops, and me and Drake are like, oh, he knows Lil Wayne. Holy shit. And then we tap back in with Jazz, and Jazz goes to Cortez, and Wayne gets us down there. So we get down to America. Fuck, what was the question?
What happened with So Far Gone? What was it?
Okay, so
Genesis
thank you. Yes. So now thank you so much. So now we're down south and we're working and have access to everything. We've got Wayne in our camp. We got all those guys. So Wayne's management is working with us at the time. And of course, what do you think the next step is when you get to that position? Well, you think, okay, now I get to work with Dr. Dre. Now I get to work with Timberland. Now I get to work with Swiss Beats. Now I get to work with, right? Now. That's where your brain goes right away. You're like, I get access to all these people. So we start, and not to like call those 3 or 4 names out, I don't think we met with any of them. But the point is that like that's where your mind goes. That's where how your brain works. And so we start sitting with all these producers and listening to hundreds and hundreds of beats And like none of them were it. And Drake wasn't finding what he was looking for from this guy, and then not from this guy, and not from this guy. And we're going through so much music for months and months and months, to the point where I'm like, there's only one thing left that he hasn't said no to. And I think I know what it is, and I think I'm gonna try and make it. And then just, I guess that experience too of seeing what he was saying no to and what he was leaning towards informed me as a producer what he needed. And then I started making it, and the first one I made was successful. And from when we made that song, that very much defined me and how I would approach producing records from that point forward. And that defined a lot of how So Far Gone came together in that space. So that's a lot of what happened there from my perspective.
Right.
There were obviously other factors, and everybody remembers things their own way. That's the other part about these stories, right? Which is very interesting. I will remember my way, Oliver will remember his way, Drake will remember his way, you know, and it's all about perspective and where my perspective is. But that's my relationship with So Far Gone, is myself stepping back in as a producer and starting to craft records again.
Now, how do you draw, in your mind, a distinction between you as an engineer and you as a producer? Because right now you do both, still. But how do you, in your mind, where does the line get drawn?
I don't know, and I blur that conversation, those lines in this conversation often. So it depends. Sometimes I have a distinct line between engineer and producer, and I don't cross it. Sometimes they're the same thing. And I guess I'll use engineer as a synonym for mixer in this context. They're very different process, and I try to approach them holistically. So when I'm tracking in a way that's gonna help me mix. And when I'm producing already thinking about how it's gonna all unfold throughout the process. So to me, I have a hard time respecting a producer who can't track, right? I came from a school where producers kick the engineer out of the room. They're like, I don't need you. Set up, mic's on, get out. And then they track. They're the producers. They're producing the records. They want to work with the artist. That was like how I learned through working on Fifi Dobson records with, you know, Jay Levine back in the day, who was from the Philosopher Kings, a Canadian band, and stuff like that. Like, I just understood that process. But I also understand how producers just make the beats. Like, there's two sides to that. So really, to answer that question, I would have to define producer for myself first. And that's the part I have a hard time with, right? Because it becomes a bit of semantics about, well, what is it to you and what is it to me? Are you the producer or am I the producer? Who made the beat? Well, who told the artist to do this? Well, who got this musician to come in and play something? Well, who got, you know, because the record wouldn't exist. But I draw the line at, oh, I introduced you to my homie, so I want to be a producer. Like, nah. Maybe the record wouldn't exist if you hadn't introduced him to the homie, but I don't like that one. I'm talking about creative input. So I can't answer that question until I define producer, and I still have yet to do that for myself. I have like 5 definitions depending on who I'm talking to and like how old they are, basically. Like, what perspective are you coming from? How are you viewing it? Because I don't want to chop anybody down. I don't want to discriminate anyone's perspective of what producing is or isn't, right? But I do have a pretty stern view of it for myself in my own heart. But I just try to stay open-minded about what it is. But like, yeah, there's a lot of producers I'd look dead in the face and be like, buddy, you're not a producer, you're a fucking programmer, kick rocks. So it's like, there's that side of it too, right? And it's just difficult. But I'm also from a pretty like entitled position to take that stance, which is that I do a lot of shit in a studio. I know how to build studios and mix records and run big consoles and run computers and Pro Tools and software. I can play instruments. I know how to DJ. I can do pretty much anything you would want in a studio. And not everybody has all those skill sets. And so I don't want to discriminate against anybody, because the truth is you don't need any of those skill sets. You can be a real fucking bum like Rick Rubin and not know how to do shit. And just, you know, take every credit for all other people's fucking work and appropriate culture all day long. That's awesome. But like, that's not really my vibe either. But I'm not gonna shit on Rick Rubin too much because I'm sure he's a great guy. But the point is that he doesn't actually know how to do shit. And he's the first one to tell you, he's like, I don't know how to do anything in a studio. I can't play a fucking instrument. I don't know how to work that console. It's like, get the fuck out of here. But whatever. He knows what he wants, right? He's got an opinion. So is that producing? Is that all it takes to be the producer? Is I am definitive about my ideas. And I believe in my ideas. So therefore I am this, this, and this. To be honest, that's a lot of Kanye West. There's a lot, and I'll give him hats off to him there, where he knows how to know what he wants and be definitive. But he ain't making half that shit. And he's a fucking Nazi, so fuck him. But the point is, I'm sorry. No, but honestly, guys, I know the guy, so I can say that full-heartedly, okay? I've had conversations that you guys haven't had. Trust me, okay? But anyway, I respect him as a producer from that standpoint. He's also a great programmer on the MPC, although he doesn't program a lot anymore, but so it just depends what perspective of production we're talking about. It's about defining what producing is, you know? And so for me now at this stage, I look at it like much more holistically, right? It's the whole thing, man. It's producing the record for me now at this point is in like producing it. Like, here you are, I've produced this out of my pocket. It is here now. I will give it to you because I've produced it for you. Yeah. Here you are, right? Because the hardest part with, especially when you get to like the top of the game, is getting records out of artists. Letting them, like having them let go of it is the hardest part by far. Like I'm gonna say to you now, you can never touch this again. You could never change it. You could never make it any better. It will live forever, eternity. It will be listened to billions and trillions and sextillions amounts of times.
50 billion.
Thank you. So, excuse me, we're not at sextillion yet. But the point is, you know, to take that out of somebody's hands and say it's over, that's the hardest part, like by far. Yeah. No. I'm still doing it with, you know, I'm like, Party's album's coming out, but it's like, yo, it's not easy to be like, yo, Party, that's it, no more. Can't make it any better, can't change it, can't fix this, can't fix that, you gotta let go. And not to single out Party, my brother, because I'll easily say the same thing about Drizzy or anybody. When you get to that level of the game, it's very difficult. And especially when you're trying to be the best, man, especially when you're trying to compete, right? Like you've gotta be better. How do you be better? Every second. When's the drop date? Okay, when do I have to deliver? Wednesday? What time? I have to deliver by 4 p.m. on Wednesday? Okay, how many hours do we have? Okay, we have that many hours to try and make these songs better. What am I gonna do? Just sit there and go to fucking bed? I'm staying up for every single hour to try and make these songs better in any way possible until the final deadline. That's excellence. That's how you get to the top. Mm-hmm. You don't waste a minute. Okay, but now, defining that time though is the hard part. Yeah. Being like, you've only got 12 hours left, you know? It's like, that's it? How? No, I'm not ready. Like, I need another week, push it a week, push it one more week, I can make it better. Oh, so-and-so gave me this song, I have to finish this song now. Like, it's the hardest part is, for me, producing the material and saying, here you are, we're done. So it's like, that part for me is now what production has become. Now I'm also playing the piano, writing the songs and the music, and
owning the studio.
And I own my studio.
Right.
So that's a whole other side of like my existence. Studios to me are actually number one. Engineering is number two. Producing is number three. Right. Very strange. You'd think it was like the polar opposite of that. But I find the most fulfillment in my studio.
Tell me about the studio. You built the studio from scratch.
Yes.
What's in it?
I mean, at its core,
you guys recording this?
There's a lot in it. It's like, it's nuts. But at its core, it's built around two consoles. There's two rooms, so there's a console in each room. Both the same consoles. They're Avid S5 consoles, which is really a Euphonics System 5 desk. But then Avid bought Euphonics. They became Euphonics. That story's kind of cool. Avid, I'll answer the question, which I'm going to ask you what it was again in a second. But Avid bought Euphonics essentially for Yukon. And Yukon is, I don't know if anyone is familiar with what Yukon is exactly, but it's basically MIDI for a console is the best way to think about it. Whereas MIDI like represents your performance on a piano, Yukon represents your performance on the console, where you're turning knobs, it's automation, so you can record all your automation. So Pro Tools was using Mackie Control at the time and Huey and shit, and that's like 8-bit versus 64-bit Yukon, if you will. You know, it's like if you had like 5 steps of resolution on Mackie, you had like 500 steps of resolution on Yukon. It was far superior language. So they bought it for Yukon, and then they actually took the algorithm off the desk, the S5, and they made the channel strip plugin. So in Pro Tools, they have a plugin called Channel Strip. It is the default channel strip of an S5 console. So everyone sort of has Pro Tools, has access to an S5 in essence, because you could just open up channel strip on every single channel, and that's my console. The beauty of the S5 is much more than the EQs and compressors. It's the dance that you do with the console. It is the action of mixing. It is like DJing. It is like performance, and it's an incredible experience. Writing automation on that desk is probably my favorite thing to do in the world. It's amazing, and when you get really into it and you understand it well, it's so fun. When we were mixing for All the Dogs on tour, I mean, that album was supposed to come out on like July 4th. So I was mixing it in like, you know, in June, we're like on tour, I'm like in rehearsals in the Toyota Center in Houston or wherever the hell we were. And I'm like, I've set up a S5 in, I don't know, whatever dressing room or room they'd stuck me in. I'm mixing in the room, and Drake's sitting there watching me mix, and he's just like in awe. Because it's like you're up, you're dancing, man. You're moving, you're adding effects, you're doing throws, and the shit just sounds incredible, and it's so fun, and you can't do that with a mouse and keyboard. So that's where the S5 comes in, is a really cool piece of my studio and why I have them. It's not so much that it sounds so much better. The truth is, whatever I do on the S5 console, I could write all those parameters for each channel strip into Pro Tools on the channel strip plugin. It will sound exactly the same. In fact, sometimes when I'm taking the stuff off the desk, and me and Jad, my assistant, are putting it into Pro Tools, we'll copy. We'll be like, oh, well, we busted on the desk to an aux, so then we'll take that channel strip, whatever it is, and we'll move the settings into Pro Tools, and it translates identically. Perfect. So the point is, it's about performance. Anyway, back to what's in my studio.
Yeah, you only told us there's 2 things.
Okay, so there's two S5s. I mean, how far you want me to go here? You guys want me to go?
Well, it's a 2-hour show.
All right, so the speakers are state-of-the-art acoustic, which is a man named Claude Fortier. Claude is from Ottawa, and he is, you know, in America, you guys will find, or anyone who's been around the US studios a lot already, all of them have pretty much the same speakers by a guy named George Augsburger, and George's speakers are like the big mains in every fucking room in the States. And they got a horn in them and you know, probably 15-inch woofers in them, and they sound incredible and they're super loud. The equivalent in Canada would be Claude Fortier. All the studios, the big rooms here often had Soda speakers in them. Cherry Beach still has a pair of Sodas. Orange Room still has a pair of Sodas. Revolution, old Phase 1, still has a pair of Sodas. CBC used to have Sodas. I'm not sure. I think they probably ripped them out. But anyway, they were in every major room in Toronto. The first studio, when I was working with Gadget, he had a pair of Sodas. So like for me, like Sodas were what I knew and understood coming from this city. And I had met through Gadget a gentleman named Les Bateman. And Les, if you will, was sort of like Gadget's mentor in a way. And he was the reason why Gadget was able to mix in the box before everybody else. The reason why Gadget had computers that were doing shit in the 90s that no one else could do was Les. He was a computer genius, if you will. Oh, there's the boss. God bless him.
Music XPC guy.
Yep. So Les, you know, the thing about Les that's so special is that not only is he a genius in computers, he's a genius in analog, audio, and electrical engineering. And music, period.
He could play.
Oh yeah, he's a mean player. But the point is that the intersection of electrical engineering, like analog circuitry, and you know, holding a soldering iron and cracking open a Neve console strip and knowing how to repair it, and programming like Windows back end and like dealing with computers in a way that like, you know, well, this hard drive, the sector is bad and I'll fix it and you don't have to send it for data recovery. It's like, how the fuck do you know that? So Les is like the most incredible sort of intersection of those two worlds, and was able to grant Gadget that ability to do different shit. Fuck, why did I start talking about Les? What were we talking about?
We're talking about what's in your studio, but
in
what's
the studio.
in your studio
Okay.
has a lot
So
to do
hold on,
with
I
this
got
guy.
this. I got this. Okay. So I meet Les through Gadget, and me and Les become very, very close. Les built probably the biggest rooms ever in this country. He built Sounds Interchange, which was like, I don't know, like a $200 million build in the 90s, and is now Technicolor or whatever it is now. So he built massive, massive mixed theaters. And his understanding of building a studio is like probably the most elite in the city of Toronto. Like, there's guys like Pilsner who do a great job of doing rooms. Like, you know, when I asked Les about Pilsner, I'm like, yeah, he used to get me coffee. You know, it's like, Les is like, he's the real OG, okay? And so I had access to Les. And so I'll never forget, I went to Les, I was like, Les, let's build a studio, man. I want to build a studio for me and Drake. You know, how much do you think it would cost, you know? 200 grand? 300 grand, you know? And like, Les is like, doesn't budge, you know? I'm like, hey, fuck, whatever, fine, fuck you too. A week later, Les, I want to build a studio, man. How much is it gonna cost? 500 grand? You know? Just like keep throwing them. Anyway, he finally budged at like 2 million or something. Like it took me a while before I got to a point where Les was like, okay, maybe, you know? And so it took me a while to get him to like commit to building a studio with me. And then when I finally did, he basically just gave me all the counsel on how to do it. So we built it from the ground up. Every brick, every single thing is from scratch in that building. But he put me onto the S5 consoles, which was like way, way, way ahead of their time. They're MADI consoles, so my whole studio is a digital MADI studio. Everything in it is run over MADI. So the S5 is fed by a ton of MADI converters. Wait, hold on. Before I get there, let me finish Soda speakers. This is a very loaded question you've asked me. So Soda speakers, Les and Claude are like best friends. Yes. So now I have access to Claude. Yes. So I'm like, Les, can you get me some sodas? Well, they don't make sodas anymore. Claude's retired. He's done. He tapped out the game. He doesn't make studios. They made studios in the 80s. Guy's building concert halls. He's doing he's redesigning the Prime Minister's office in the CSIS building, and he's doing, you know, I think he had just finished a new concert hall for the Bank of Montreal, okay? Like, that's the level of acoustic work he's doing. He's not building little fucking recording studios anymore, and he never would. But for Les, okay. So Claude comes out of retirement and commits to building a room for me and Les, which essentially is he's building a room for Les. He doesn't know me from shit yet. But me and Claude became very, very close as well. And so the studio is S5 console, and we have 3 different pair of Soda speakers. The mains are 2 mains. The big ones are 15-inch woofers, and the mids are something, I can't remember whether there's 6 or 10-inch in the mids, and tweeters. And then there's another pair that's 12-inch woofers, and then there's a near field pair that are just 8-inch woofers. The thing about Claude's Sodas speakers versus George's sort of big loudspeakers in America is George's speakers are horns, Claude's speakers are tweeters. So the nuance there is that horns are for PA systems and nightclubs and concerts. They are incredibly loud, but they do not have a full frequency response. Tweeters have a full frequency response. It's 20 to 20. And, well, we're talking about in the top end. And you can actually mix on loudspeakers with tweeters. You can't mix on loudspeakers with horns. You're fucking blind. I mean, you can tweak your bottom end, but you really don't know what you're doing if you're on horns. So Genelix have tweeters, which are, the equivalent pair of Genelix to Sodas is like, $500,000 for those speakers for what I got in my studio from Claude. So obviously that's not the cost of my speakers. But the point is that to go into like the big companies to get the same quality that I had out of my systems, we're talking about like the most expensive speakers in the world. So yeah, with Claude he designs the rooms, does the acoustics in the rooms, and they're all his speakers. S5 consoles. Then I have converters, obviously, to get the analog audio into MADI, into the digital system. All of the converters are Diotech, Direct Out Technologies. Direct Out Technologies, I believe they're German. Are they German? Some Austrian, somewhere over there. And they are a bunch of engineers that ran from RME, as far as Les explained it to me.
They're German then.
he was like, yeah, so a bunch of the top engineers at RME went and they made their own shit called Diotech, and that's way fucking cheaper. And so, of course, like the converters from like Avid were gonna be like 10 grand, 15 grand a piece, or I could get the Diotech ones for 2 grand a piece. And they're like, to be honest, Diotech converters for me right now, top of the game, man. They're my favorite. like favorite. And even like the Prodigy boxes, like that's all we use on tour. On me and Drake's tour, like everything is all Diotech. And most tours these days at that caliber are all running Diotech conversion and software and GlobCon and to handle all the back end through their, Maddie and Dante networks. So yeah, Diotech converters. So analog converters, digital converters, AS, whatever the hell. And then gear, lots and lots of gear.
Lots and lots of sense. What kind of main sense you got in there? Or is it all in the box as well?
No.
You got
Tons
any
of
analog
sense.
stuff?
I have like lots of like fun 90s synths, like Yamaha SY99s. Those are like, that to me is kind of like the Expand, you know what I mean? It's like full of like cool sounds, like the Korg Triton, but like the SY99s are really special synths to me. Juno 60, Juno 106, the new Moog 1 is a really great one. I have like about 4 or 5 different Moogs. What else do I really love these days?
What about drum boxes? You got any of those?
Oh God, I've got original SB12s. I've got the new Rossum SB12. I've got every MPC you could ever think of, from 4000s to original 2000 XLs to 3000s to 2500s to all the new shit they make. I've got Arturia stuff and Spark drum machines, and I've got, the Dave Smith one that I use, the Tempest. I love the Tempest. I've got so many different things. I'm just like, look, when I made money in this business, I'm not, the things that motivate me in this life are not much material. I don't care for cars and clothes and jewelry and shit. I spend my money on gear. So I pretty much like walk into a place, I'm like, okay, what do I not have? Okay, get that, add that and that, and then I leave, So it's like horrifically bad because it is like a form of consumerism and gluttony, and I really need to like stop because it's ridiculous. And like, what am I gonna do with this shit? And the logic that if I just use it on one song, it makes sense and it's worth it is kind of crazy. Like I need to sort of back away from that. So yeah, I have a lot of synths. I have what's the one I just got the other day? Sean, what's the new one we just got? The Oberheim. Yeah. What was the? Which one is it? Yeah, OBX, but it's like a classic OBX.
Like a real one?
Like a real one. Like Les found it for me from his boy who's been sitting on it for 30 years. Like, yeah, like a real OBX. We just
and it works.
Oh man, it's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, Les will repair it. Don't worry, Les will fix it. Yeah, no, it's like Gil Moore, who owns Metalworks. Gil always joke with me about, they've got their guys they call to fix the SSLs when they break, and then they call Dave and they call this guy, and if everybody can't fix it, if nobody can fix the SSL, then he calls Les. And Les will come and fix it. But he's like, he won't call him unless he absolutely has to, But like Les is the guy that will probably repair anything.
Les has repaired a busted hard drive.
Yes.
He disemboweled it. He took the platter out. He took the platter into another hard drive. He put the hard drive back together on the other system, and he spooled the stuff off, and then it worked.
Me and I blew up him right there. I blew up Take Care actually. I think Drake even talks about it in the credits. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. Talks about it somewhere. But I blew up the hard drives for Take Care. We lost everything. And Les repaired them, same way. Yeah. He got the same drive. He cracked them both open. He opened them up. He started moving parts of the hardware between them until he was able to get it to work again. Pulled all the data off.
The moral of the story, guys. I happen to know both these guys as well, and had different lives with them. They are the best in the world. They're not the best in Toronto, like he was saying. They're the best in the world, and you, as doing anything. You're running a pizza shop or you're doing a production, you got to be aspiring to be the best in the world. And if you have a great team, like 40's got, you got the best. You got this is not the A team, this is like the team from heaven.
I'm pretty lucky that way.
If you got a great team, you're really hard to beat. Right, so shout out to
for real. But I had Gadget and Les, and having those two guys in my pocket is why I was able to do what I was able to do. I'll be frank about it. Why I was not able to build my studio. In no world do I build. To finish the story, because I'm rambling as always. Soda Studios is the name of my studio, which I went to Claude and was like, "Hey Claude, would you mind if I use Soda?" and called my studio Soda Studios. Because you design the rooms, it's Soda rooms, it's all Soda speakers in all the rooms, like, would you be cool with that? And he gave me his blessing. So I'm sodastudios.ca and he's soda.ca. But like, so it's a very similar thing. But without Les, I never build that room. Like, I don't have access to it, I don't have the knowledge, I don't know how, I don't know what to put in there. I wouldn't have put a S5 console. I didn't know what MADI was. I didn't know any of this shit at the time. Like, he gave me the guidance to understand my path there without any question. And Gadget gave me that guidance as a mixer by showing me how to do those things and what was possible, you know? Gadget mixed all the biggest records. It wasn't me. I've mixed everything since Scorpion. And prior to Scorpion, so okay, I'll do this run through quick. So Far Gone, I mixed the whole thing. Thank Me Later, I let Gadget mix 2 songs. I mixed the others. Take Care, I mixed 12, Gadget mixes 10. Nothing Was the Same, Gadget mixes 12, I mixed 10, right? That was probably where we went, chick, did more Gadget than me. And then after Nothing Was the Same, it was pretty heavy Gadget. At that point, I'm mixing 5 songs, 6 songs, 7 songs an album. He's mixing 14, 15 songs. Scorpion was probably 50-50 between me and Gadget, and then since Scorpion, I've been mixing all of it. But that's less. But Gadget, it's okay. You don't have to slide to Gadget. It's okay.
Everybody knows.
But Gadget.
Hey, this is my show, okay?
Yeah, the maestro. He mixed all the big ones in the beginning, man. I mean everything from, Hold On and One Dance and Hotline Bling and Marvin's Room and Started From the Bottom. Like the mixes that made people be like, wow, they were all Gadget. And that's why Dave Pensato comes up in here and is like, I want to meet this guy. Because he's sitting with me being like, oh, what you did on Started From the bottom end, how did you do that? I'd never heard anything like it. I'm like, yeah, Gadget. Gadget, right? It wasn't me, it was Gadget. I'm his student, like I was learning from him, Oh, that's the S5 right there. That's my studio.
So,
I was learning from him.
But anyway, let's put his face back up there. Now, you're good. You're great. Now, when did you realize that you can do it by yourself? How did you know you were great? When did you know you were great? Was it the feedback from the public? Okay, now don't be modest with me. This is not the time for this.
It's not about being modest. This is about honesty. Okay?
Modest,
look, at the end of the day,
how many people say this guy's great?
No. Okay. I'll take great. Thank you. I'll take great. I'll accept that one.
So
but what I'm saying is,
when did you realize you were great?
It's not about that. It's about understanding that Gadget is a better mixer than I am.
Fine. But we already did Gadget.
Okay, but that's the point, right? For me, I wanted the best for my guy.
Right.
I wanted the best for what we had to offer as a city.
Yeah.
And that's why I leaned on Gadget so much.
Right.
I could have mixed all of it.
Right.
We shared in the mixing process together. And a lot of those records we did mix together. Where he might have done it, and then I would take the vocal and I'll EQ and I'll mix the vocal, and he does the bottom end and the music. Or maybe it's like, yo, Gadget, you fucked up the bass. Mute the bass, send me your mix without the bass. And then I pop the bass in and I mix the low end. Like, it's always been a collaborative effort with us. But I just leaned on him because he's better than I am. And I still think he is, and I don't know if there will ever be a better mixer than that man. He's my favorite of all time.
He's my favorite of all time too, but let's talk about you. You're doing a lot of stuff by yourself, and it's great.
Yeah, no, and look, as of late, I made a joke with Drake the other day when we were going through mixes. I was like, I feel like Gadget, man. I feel like Gadget. I got this, I can do it. I'm doing it. Because I've gone too far. It was like way too much bass in some songs. I was like, oh my God, I'm Gadget. I gadgeted this song. Because Gadget is also unpredictable. Last thing I'll say on him is this topic is what I always say to people when they mix with Gadget or they ever use him, I always explain that process to them like this. If you give me 10 mixes, I'm going to give you back 10, and you're going to sign off on 9. Most likely. That's just my experience, right? The artist will be like, yo, fucking killed it. I love them all. Maybe just fix this one. Cool. You give Gadget 10 mixes, you're going to get 3 back that you like. 7 back that you're like, what the fuck was this guy doing? Now, if you have the time and patience to work through those 7 mixes with Gadget and get them the way you want them, his 10 will be far superior to my 9 that you approved right away. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
And those 3 that you get back from Gadget initially will be far superior than any of the 9 that you liked from me.
Yeah.
Like, he's better than I am, but he's more difficult to work with because he takes more chances. He does more things to your song. So that maybe we'll be like, oh, I like what he did, or I don't like what he did. And Drake got smart enough to understand, like, yo, these records, give those to Gadget. He might body those. Yo, 40, you mix these. And so that was the relationship for us, you know? But, so when did I know that I was great?
Well, how do you remember
Which
that
again, it was a horrific thing for me to even repeat. I just think it was about when I became confident in myself. And to be honest with you, I'm still not confident in myself. I mean, that's the ultimate truth. And I often say to people, like, that maybe is why me and Drake can find excellence, right? Because we're never satisfied. Right. Any producer who comes to me like, yo, I got the best beats in the world. This is the craziest beat. I'm like, yeah, garbage. Don't want to hear it. Like, to me, that's not about being humble. That's about striving for greatness. Can it be better? Is your ego so big that you think this shit is so good that it can't be any better? Nah, man, it can be better. I can fix this more. I can do a better job. And that is the mentality. So for me, when I listen to a mix that I've done, I hate them. I don't want to listen to any mixes. I think they're horrific. There's very few mixes of my own that I'm happy with. There's very few productions of my own that I'm happy with. Like maybe 2. And it's not insecurity. That's striving for greatness from my perspective. I can do better. I want to do better. So I don't want to listen to that anymore because I'm going to do a better job now.
Man, you did a good job answering that question. How about that for
Thank
you?
you.
Amazing. And that's true for everybody, man. You know, we always got to strive for better. Appreciate that. Now, I got to mention this, man. You're kind of an architect of this genre of music that, what the heck?
Sorry.
Where's my
That was
sound?
me,
This
sorry.
is a sound show, right?
Yeah, it is. EQ a couple of notches up my top end.
You are de facto, based on this, an architect of this hip hop music that comes from the black community.
Yeah, I was about to say architect.
But you know, I don't know if you checked, you're not black.
No.
So you came prepared. How does this is a question. Him and I listen before anybody.
That didn't
threw
mean to do
anything
that
at
on
me,
purpose. That was
we
great.
talked about this before. What's it like to be in such a position? You're almost like you are an architect of this genre at this point, whether you agree with it or not. I'm saying that you and Drake, what you guys are doing, and you as a pivotal in that pivotal position of producing and engineering. How does that make you feel?
In the beginning, it was very difficult for me. Like, I had to process it, like, just for myself and my own politics as, like, a guest in a black community, because hip-hop is rooted in the culture and in the streets and in the struggle, right? And fighting the power, essentially. It's black resistance in a lot of ways. And so as a guest, for myself in that world, I was very, very mindful of it and careful, and I still am to this day. Mm-hmm. And I've had this conversation very openly with some of, like, the great architects of the genre, which I will not accept the title for myself. But what I will say is that I've contributed to it, and I'm happy with that contribution that I've made now to the genre and to the culture. And I'm just mindful of it and think of it from this perspective because I think it's the right way, and it will lead me down a good path where I can continue to contribute in a positive way and not a harmful way.
And tell me about this, the 40 Foundation and the Justice Fund. And
So
some of the
40
things
Foundation was what I sort of started. Community work is really important for me, and we take so much from the city. Whether it's money out of people's pockets that are supporting our clothing brand, or it's people showing up at our concerts, or whatever the case is, whether it's the, things that people are taking from our music. And I just wanted to make sure that we're always giving back on some level or contributing back into the infrastructure of the city so that we can grow more, culture and music and young people and finding success and changing their trajectory in their lives, and very important for me. So I started my foundation, and you know, it quickly, it's very challenging. Philanthropy is like, I hate philanthropy. It's a scam of capitalism. It's like, hey, let me screw the shit at you for billions of dollars and take all your resources. Here's $1 back for you, because I'm great. So now I'm gonna pat myself in the back and tell me how awesome I am, because after I fucked you all, I gave you back a penny. So that to me is philanthropy. And so I don't really like subscribe to it very much. Cue the Justice Fund. So Justice Fund is a very different approach. Not that 40 Foundation isn't a part of that, but it's just, that's how we get to the Justice Fund. Becoming, you know, when I connected with Jonas, who's my partner in Justice Fund, and Jermaine, the mentality of how to approach philanthropy and what we do in the city was something I could subscribe to, which is about empowering and supporting community that's already in programming. So instead of showing up to a community to say like, hey, I'm gonna tell you guys how to do this, and this is the great idea I have, it's like, no, we show up to community and be like, yo, who's been doing it already? Who's from this community that's been doing this work for 10 years already? How can we support you guys? So that's sort of the mentality of what we do, is we're finding the money. And so I just go out there and smile and be like, hey guys, wanna give us money? And they're like, we'll give you money. I'm like, cool, thank you. Okay, give it to them, you know? So like, that's sort of what we're doing, is funneling the funding to the right places, which is the people that are on the ground doing the work in the community. Not somebody like me who wants to smile and pretend that like my foundation is making change, like fuck out of here, you know? Like, these people have been there doing it for a long time. So that's sort of what the Justice Fund's mantra is. And then we do other things where we're sort of lobbying politically and trying to make change. You know, we did some pretty significant things last year around philanthropy in Canada, and helping to sort of move the needle on what people have to donate and don't, because it's all a scam. So we're just trying to make the scam a little bit better for the people on the ground and not the corporations who are getting tax breaks. So
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. You know, looking back, I gotta say, man, as somebody that's been on the periphery of this whole thing, supplying you guys with whatever you need here and there, I'm really proud of you, honestly.
Thank you, Ray.
Really proud of you, and proud of what you guys have achieved here in Toronto. I think, I don't know if you guys know, Toronto's like the epicenter of a lot of music software and this kind of stuff. But you know, to have the production of that software actually emanate from here in the terms of informing music is I'm very, very proud of you, and so thankful that you're here.
Thank you, Ray.
There are a lot of people out here, okay? We can't cover everything. They want to be you. They want to be successful. You guys, you have beats, you're making music. What is some 40 advice for all its people here trying to make music? What do you say to them?
The real advice or the inspiring advice?
The real advice.
Real advice? This shit's a lottery, bro. This shit is a lottery. And the reason why I'm humble is because there are a billion people out there who are far more talented than I am, and they will never get the fucking chance. And that's not because they didn't work as hard as I did. And that's the reality of our shitty capitalist world and the shitty ass music business. It's a shitty business. It sucks. It's not a good one. You know, it's tough. I remember in a joke when I was coming up, and it was like, you know, the casino is the entertainment business. And the film or Hollywood or whatever is the baccarat, the $10,000 baccarat table. And television is the poker table, $50 poker table. And the music business is the $2 blackjack table. So it's essentially a lottery. Like, you've got to win the lottery. Like, me and Drake got lucky. Now, were we prepared for our luck? You know, luck is a combination of preparation and whatever it is. Opportunity and preparation. Were we prepared for the opportunity? Yes, we were. And we seized it wholeheartedly. But we were lucky. And I have been lucky. And as much as I can sit here and tell you guys that I'm talented and I'm wonderful at what I'm great, your words, not mine, there's lots of other great people. And what I'll say is that Drake is great. If you want to ask me what the secret is to our success, it's him.
What kind of man is he?
He's that, just first musically, he's that good at what he does.
Yeah.
And he will make anybody around him that good. Any producer that works with him will therefore be that good. Because even if you thought that shit they produced was whack as fuck, he's gonna make it incredible. There's all kinds of beats I've made that I thought were garbage until I get back something from him and I'm like, oh my God, this is really good. Oh shit, I didn't see it. He saw it. And he's always the one who sees it. I'll give him, that man, all the credit in the world as far as our path and creativity. And often I'd said to him, I didn't even produce this, you produced this. Your name should be on this. And I'd always yell, I did that with him on fucking Problems for 2 Chainz, or not 2 Chainz, for ASAP. And because he came to me, he was like, oh, Chain sent me this verse, but I really just like this part. You can take this part, and then can you chop it and make a hook out of it? And I was like, I love bad bitches, yeah, fucking problem, I won't fucking, whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go to the tour bus, and I like chop up the little piece he told me, and I like program a little beat behind it. I'm like, you like this? Like, yeah, I love that. He's like, oh, we should put Kendrick on this. I'm like, all right, cool. We should put so-and-so and da-da-da. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're like sending it around, and the record, suddenly it's done, you know? And I'm like, Drake, you produced this record, bro. Like, you should be a producer on here. Like, you know, like this is all your idea. Like, you created this whole thing. So anyway, he's very much responsible for his own path. Yeah. And still to this day, we never had an A&R. We don't work with other people. He makes all the decisions. He picks all the records. He makes all the calls. Always has, always will. There is no involvement. Universal doesn't even exist in my world. I don't even know who they are. Like, I'm dead ass serious. God bless them all. You know, I love them, you know? But like, they don't have anything to do with what we do. We make music in my studio, and then we mix it, and then we send it to Universal and say, okay, you can send it to Spotify now, thank you. I'm dead ass serious.
I could tell by the number, we still can't figure out the number of songs they've done.
Right, so it's like, that's sort of how we operate, and he's really good. He's responsible for all of that. And then how is he as a man, as a person?
As a person.
I mean, like, look.
Which is a question I actually wanted to ask earlier.
Yeah, I mean, like,
remembered it now.
At the end of the day, I accept the fact that he's embraced being an artist wholeheartedly first. That's his priority. His priority is his music. His priority isn't politics. It isn't being a voice. That's not where he is or who he is, and he's made that decision, and I respect it wholeheartedly. He's one of like the best people in my life. And what I'll tell you is that most of these movies you watch, like the Queen movie I watched the other day, or like, I watched another one too, they're all the fucking same, man. Like these like big bands that blow up, or the Beatles or whatever, and they become like hugely successful, and then they hate each other, and they break up in like week 3, okay? Like, if they can last 2 years, they're like incredibly successful from that metric, right? You know, me and Drake have been together for almost 20 years, and we are like rock solid. And all I'll just say to you all is that that's a testament to that man's character. He's a good-ass man. And if he wasn't a good man, I would not be here any longer. I guarantee you that. You know, it's like I am rooted much more in politics and myself and who I want to be in this world. I care about my music and my career as well, obviously, but I have a lot of other things on my mind too. So just from that perspective, if he was not a good man, I would not be here. He's a good man.
Okay.
So.
And now that you give them the real, but a little inspirational.
All right. So, excuse me, I'm sorry. The real is just the lottery part, right? That's the honesty, right? Like, this business is tough. And no matter how hard you work or how good you are at what you do, you might not make it. That's a reality. And it's a sad one, but it's truthful. So that's the hard truth of the business. The inspiration part is this. You do it for yourself, right? I always like tell people, like, get a day job. Not because I don't believe that you're gonna be successful in this shit, but like, just take the pressure off. You know? Like, do it in your free time, man. If you're doing this honestly in your free time, from your heart and from your soul, that's what's gonna resonate with people, and that's where you're gonna find your success. That's where I found mine, you know? It's like, I'm not sitting there and be like, how do I make the biggest hit in the world? Like, that's not what I'm thinking, man. Whatever comes out that day. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. That's it. So I just rock with that. That's how I do it. Mm-hmm. But I'm obviously in a very entitled position to make such a statement, right? Mm-hmm. But it's tough business. So I just think it's a balance between following your heart and doing it for the right reasons, and also being intelligent about it, picking up other crafts that will also support you. So for me, it was engineering, mixing, running a studio, and producing. It wasn't just producing and writing songs. Producing and writing songs is what I do when I came home from my hard days of work as an engineer. And then eventually it got to a place where I could now do that full time.
Excellent. Where's Dina? We're going to take some questions. We have
Oh, I love questions.
a few minutes for some questions.
No, we got time.
Dina.
We got time. Are they going to kick us out?
You have to stand up. Oh, you right in the front and you missed this? How did you miss this? Right in the front.
First state your name and then you can.
Oh, I'm still standing. Okay. My name's Jackson.
Pleasure, Jackson.
I was gonna ask, what is your definition of making it in the industry?
I mean, I think it depends what your objective is. For me, making it in the industry was when I could pay my rent. So, as long as I could support myself to any capacity from doing something that I loved, that for me was making it. The other perspective is that, you know, I made it when I had my first song in the Billboard, whatever, right? Like, for me, it wasn't about that. My perspective is much more so, like, was I able to feed myself? That, to me, was making it in this business. But other than that, I would say probably like, yeah, like hearing myself on the radio. Hearing your song on the radio for real is like, oh shit, okay, we did it, you know? Yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you, 40. First, I want to
Pleasure.
say thank you to Imsta for throwing such an amazing event for all of us. And shout out to each and every one of you guys who showed up. You guys are awesome. My question is, a lot of engineers preach on mixing on feel. Where does feel begin for you and where does it end?
Wow, great question. All feel. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm dead ass. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I spent a lot of time with Gadge. Like, I've learned. Like, I want to go sit with Dave and be like, Dave Pensato, can you teach me how to use an EQ, please, sir? Like, can we start from the beginning? Like, so it's all feel for me. It's all. I'm not open up low pass and putting them on every single track and doing that because it's a snare, I'm gonna roll off this much. Nah, like I was taught differently too. Gadget would take a tight curve EQ and spike it 12 dB at like 40 hertz on an 808. Yeah, shit, you're like, you can't do that. That's illegal. Yeah, that's what we do. Why? Feel, ears, that's it. How does it fucking sound? Nothing else matters. If you're sitting there watching things and trying to figure it out from that way, you're gonna fail. You just use your ears. And then most importantly from a feel perspective is the way I mix is, the goal is to play a song and not have to stop it. And that's a feel thing. That you're not looking at anything technical there. You're not looking at like a curve or a feedback from a oscilloscope. You're just sitting there being like, that was weird. Back that up. What's wrong? How do we fix it? Oh, that's better. Okay, now it's good. Like it's all, from that perspective, all feel. For me, anyway. But I'm also not the most technical mixer, which is why I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that I'm like the greatest mixer either, because I half the time don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I hope the shit sounds okay.
Hey, 40.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Pleasure, brother.
My name is Joshua. I just started using Pro Tools like when COVID hit, and I have a hard time, just like you said, you had a hard time when you started. I'm trying to get the best sound out of my mix, and I was just wondering, like, do you have any advice, like, what things should I?
Just smash the shit out of your master chain.
Yeah.
Right? Like, honestly though, like, look, at the end of the day, mixing's a funny thing, okay? You can try as hard as you can to make something better, okay? Often, okay, I think on this album, I did really good on For All the Dogs. One reference though. Only one reference. Everything else was my mix. Well, me and Noel's mixes. There's been previous albums where it's been like 6 references. As in, he turned down my mix. At the last minute, he said, nah, go back to my ref. I don't like your mix. after we'd worked on it for weeks and tried to do everything to make it as good as we can, right? It's like, so the point I'm trying to make about how do you get more out of Pro Tools, Josh, I believe it was, what's happening is I'm trying so hard to get the most out of Pro Tools and mix the record, and what does he pick? The ref. So what does it fucking matter? It doesn't. All that matters is feel, and for Drake, how loud the shit is coming out of his iPhone. So at the end of the day, if you have a good master chain, and you're hitting that master chain good, and you get that shit loud and popping, you're done. You can then split it all out on the desk and mix it all and try to figure this shit out. Man, back to the ref. That master just had it smacking. And by ref, I mean whatever he recorded in Pro Tools with a 2-mix beat and a bunch of shit on the master chain. I don't know what it is, Ozone, L2, Pro L2, Limitless, whatever. Yeah, Limitless laugh over there, eh? All right, so, you know, for me, these days I hit Limitless and I'll hit Pro L2, Fab Filter. So I close everything with Pro L2, and then I'll usually take off Pro L2 and send it to mastering. But I also send my Pro L2 version to mastering, and I say, okay, Chris, beat my Pro L2 master, or if you can't, I'm keeping it. And I think on this album, I might have kept 4 of my Pro L2 masters over Chris's masters. But the point is that it's just, there's no right or wrong way to do this shit, man. You just make it fucking loud and poppin'. So like, yeah, are there technical ways to like create space in the frequencies and get the, you know, side chaining shit? And sure, whatever, none of that fucking matters. All of it boils down to your master chain. Slap that shit and it will be loud. And that's what they're doing in Fruity Loops. Why do you think producers are spitting beats out of Fruity Loops that sound like crack? Because they got that fucking limiter on there and the legacy effects, and this shit sounds back. So there you go, right? And no one can compete with it. They're just slapping the master chain, and then that has to do with it too, because then that is the 2-mix beat that's in the session, okay? And then that is what then prints the reference that Drake loves. Then I split that all out, and I mix it technically better, technically louder on the VU, technically more bottom end. No fruity limiter. And then Drake picks the reference. Okay, so the point is, again, how do you get more out of it? It's your fucking master chain. And that's how guys are getting more out of Fruity Loops, and people producing in Pro Tools, which is a rarity, not everyone produces in Pro Tools, I'm a pretty big anomaly there, are having a hard time because they're not able to get the same smack that people in Fruity Loops are able to get. It's all that, so that's all on your master. That, they're not mixing, they're not EQing each track in Fruity, trying to get the mix balanced. They're slapping the master. That's all.
Hi, so this is going to start with an apology. I was one of your teachers at Travis, and I hope I'm not the one who told you to leave engineering.
Oh, no, you weren't.
Good, okay, good.
Oh, pleasure, how are you?
Hi. So the question is, how do you convince the artist that it's done? Because sometimes, at some point, the mix isn't getting better, it's just getting different. How do you convince the artist it's time to let go?
That's why I don't work with anybody besides Drake. Because like I trust him and his ear, so I'll take his counsel. But you have to understand my perspective as a producer and a mixer, I don't work for myself, I work for the artist. So my goal is to make the artist happy. And like at any cost, that's it. And it's tough because it's not my choice, right? And so some of these mixes that we put out are just horrifically awful. And that's just because that's what he wanted. And at the end of the day, the reason what I get back from the boy most often is his timing. Great mix. The bottom end is smacking. The kick is way louder. It's cutting more. And my flow sounds different. Go back to the other one. Right? You understand? That little nuance will change where he sits in the pocket. And if that changes where he sits in the pocket, it's not up to me anymore. It's up to him. So at the end of the day, as long as he's whatever the fuck he wants, I will do. Just, are you good? Are we signing off? All right, we're good. I trust you. And that's it. And that's unfortunately the way I have to mix in my circumstance. Would I like to be doing exactly what I want to certain mixes? Of course I would. And sometimes I win. Sometimes I get them. You know, my V1 mix goes through and gets approved and mastered, and I'm like the happiest person in the world. You know? So sometimes that happens. A lot of the times it doesn't. But as far as like letting them know they're done, man, that's the hard part. There is no answer to that. Convincing them, trying to, A-being, right? A lot of A-Bing, a lot of balancing. So a lot of the times, you know, when you're A-Bing stuff, and this is something Gadget taught me, you have to balance, I like to balance the vocal. So if you got a reference is here and my mix is here, but the reference vocal is way louder, I'll turn the reference down to match it with the mix. Now the vocals are in the exact same place. Now you can hear the difference of those mixes. If you're just playing them at the same level at 0, you don't understand the difference. So I have to help artists see the difference in what they're listening to a lot. And a lot of that has to do with perspective of the balance, so where you're setting things. Sometimes I have to push my mix louder, sometimes I have to pull my mix back 6 dB. My mix might be 6 dB hotter than his ref. And then when I A-B them like that, now he's like, oh, I like the ref. Or I like the mix. But he liked the ref because of the timing, but you can't, it's just, so to your point, it's a never-ending mind fuck, but usually I just try to get them to see the perspective they should see and hope that they will make the right decision. But ultimately, their decision is the right decision from my perspective.
Hey, 40. Love, brother. My
Love,
name's
my
Gifty
brother.
Singh. You mentored me
Gifty,
actually
goddamn,
for
man.
about 2 years.
I'm gonna come give you a hug and
Yeah.
when this thing's done.
My question to you is, how do you give advice to people who want to reconnect with their mentor?
My brother Gifty.
Because I wanted to find an authentic way to connect back with you. I've grown as have you have. You mix and master this for me, so
wow.
I definitely want to get this signed from you as well. But,
I miss you, brother. We'll
I miss you
connect
as
after
well.
the
Miss
show,
you as
man.
well. But it feels like my community doesn't know that connection, and I want to really shine light on that, and also give flowers as well. So
thank you, my brother.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we'll connect after this. And
Absolutely.
say no more. We got that covered. I got you.
Okay, so we gotta get some females. If there's any females, I know sometimes in industries we're always outnumbered. So if there's
I
anyone
love females in the industry.
yeah,
I'm
I
a strong
want you
supporter
guys
of females
to
in the
also,
industry.
take out your voices right
Anyone
now.
heard
This
of
is your
Angie?
opportunity.
Angie, she's killing it right now. She's Lil Baby's engineer. She came through my studio, and now she's popping off in America. She's the shit. Everyone's trying to work with her. She's so good. I'm so proud of her. And I have another Mila is another young lady who's working with me right now. I always try to keep women in the studio. I think it's really important.
So thank you for being the first. No, it's good. Let's go.
I'm so sorry to disappoint. I'm actually a policy person. I
That's
work for the
fine.
government. And yeah, no problem. I actually came across the Justice Fund because I work at the Future Skills Center where we were providing
Amazing.
grants.
Yep.
And I just wanted to thank you for sharing the knowledge about the studio because that goes into creating a center for live performance innovation. And this is where I want to ask you to give the community 3 things to do so that this can exist. We live in a city where music venues are disappearing, studios, and it's all because the music community doesn't really interact with politicians and politics except for grants.
I mean, who interacts with politicians?
Well, occasionally when we want shows and great things out of you.
Fair enough.
But recently we had an election at the city level, and we have the city reviewing noise bylaws. There were no producers there to give their insights about the acoustics of outdoor performances and indoor. So as someone who's in policy, what 3 things could this larger community do to get actual infrastructure for the future? Because I'm seeing a lack of audience development, artist development, and it's because there's no space.
I think there's many contributing factors to that. One of them for sure is the lack of representation from the community in those kind of meetings and having their voices heard. As a young producer, your biggest struggle as a young producer is finding somewhere you can make noise, right? It's very challenging to find somewhere where you're not gonna be disturbing everybody. And in my case, because I smoke so much weed, it was I'm the worst neighbor of all fucking time. If I'm moving into your building, you're gonna hate my guts because it's just gonna stink and it's gonna be so fucking loud and it's just a horrific experience. So I do think that, yes, that information is good to be shared with policymakers, obviously, but I think it's deeper than that. It has to do with technology. Studios aren't disappearing in the city or in New York City because of policy. They're disappearing because there's a lack of need for them any longer, right? The actual structure of the business is changing also. I've never thought about that question you've just asked, to be completely honest, because my focus is much more on impoverished communities that are struggling to stay alive and feed themselves than it is to like find a new music venue for people to fucking go party and do drugs in. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just don't usually lend my energy to that space, and because I'm spending so much time like making music, it's like I really am trying to commit to myself to like take care of myself for the first time in 20 years that I've been working so hard. So, and I spend a lot of time doing community work. So it's like, it's a balance for me personally. But I don't know all the way how to answer that question properly for you. But I would say that, yeah, like as artists and producers, we need to involve ourselves more in policy that way. But it's difficult because I would maybe throw that back at policymakers to make it more accessible for young people to be involved in that process.
Hi, my name is Bashar, and sorry, I'm a bit nervous.
It's okay, brother. No worries. Take your time.
Thank you.
Nice and easy.
Thank you. So I've never had any opportunity this big. Thank you so much for being here. I just came from Morocco in December to make it in music. And so I sing and produce and I do everything. I hope I could give you just my business card. Wait, sorry.
He's like, I'm doing it.
Thank you.
I like it.
And so somebody from the industry told me that if you're around someone, just sing for them. So I just want to sing one chorus from one of my songs, if that's possible. Okay. And when I'm nervous, I smile. When I'm high, I smile. When I'm sad, I smile. And when I'm angry, I don't cry. Don't ask. Don't ask. Don't ask. Don't ask if I miss Yoshi. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bashar.
Okay, we have time for just 3 more questions.
Come on. Why? What, is it my responsibility to pick the question? No. She's got the mic though.
You're already standing up, so go ahead.
Oh, you got a mic. Let's go.
Yeah. Even though I don't have any prior relation to you like him, I've been one of Susie's kids for like 10 years. She's been my mentor. So hopefully, if I can get
one of whose kids?
Susanna.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. She's been my mentor for like.
She's also my mentor.
In
life.
Yeah.
I am who I am because of her.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my sister, so everyone knows.
I told her I was going to be here today, so maybe if I can have more specific questions with you afterwards, it would be great. But one thing I want you to shed light on is, you know, you've always expressed your appreciation for Aaliyah, but when I hear you play piano, I really think about Static and Devontae with like your melody choices.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could just shed light on those guys, because you know you always stand up for people who are behind the scenes but are really, really talented. So if you could shed some light on them.
Yeah, I mean, Static, those guys like are the reason for Aaliyah in a lot of ways, right? And a lot of music that we all love and know and don't really realize how much someone like Static even, he wrote Lollipop, right? Like full circle in the story again. Yeah, it's just, there was something about the way that man wrote and the melodies he chose that were just like out of this world, man. And they inspired me as a young person so much. And I grew up with my sisters, and so I was around so much R&B music, and Aaliyah is just like what I fell in love with as a young child and gravitated to, and then later learned about those guys and how crucial they were and how many of those songs they wrote. So at the end of the day, we all worship like Aaliyah, but like, yeah, you know, Static Major is the guy you really want to like tip your hat to, you know, without any question.
Hey, I'm Taryn Bay. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I'm a singer, songwriter, and electric cellist, and just starting my journey in music production at Harris in November. So really excited about that.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And my question is, how much of like your instrumentation and composition, like how much of that actually goes into helping you as a producer, since my background is as a musician? And before you answer, I just want to say this policy girl knows what she's talking about. I'm a gigging musician, so it's a big problem. They're like stopping musicians a lot from getting paid and playing in venues. So everybody protest. And
right.
yeah, so please go ahead, answer.
What was the first part again? I'm so sorry, guys. Composition. Oh, so okay, it's way deeper than just composition for me. Yes, without any question, I can't do what I do without understanding music theory and learning how to play the piano my whole life. I've been playing piano since I was 3 years old. So I can play the piano, and it's a crucially important part of my journey. Is it mandatory? No, absolutely not. Do I know a ton of people who make the biggest records in the world and don't know how to play a single note on any instrument? I sure do. So it's not a mandatory part, but it's one of the most advantageous things that I carry in my toolkit without any question. The thing people also don't understand is that so is math class, so is science class, so is English class. And I hated English class. But what I'll tell you is that the essay is a song. And when you start to understand those concepts, like when you learn about an introduction and a thesis is a chorus. And you reiterate the thesis throughout your arguments, like you reiterate the chorus throughout your song. And you have a conclusion, you have a bridge, which is the climax of your essay. And you have conflict, and you have all these supporting arguments and in these paragraphs, right? So English class was crucially important, Everything, you can take away anything in life and apply it to your music if you're looking at it from the right perspective. So for that of music theory and the ability to play an instrument, it is one of your great powers as a producer, without any question.
How you doing, Mr. My voice is dead. I just performed last night. I sang for Jesus Christ. It's gone. It's gone.
That's fine. That's fine. It's in the right place.
And it's crazy that you already. I want to just say thank you when you spoke with just being a philanthropist. I just want to say in terms of giving back, would it be for the community? I have to thank you. You're my first and one of my only mentors I've ever had in production. And if it wasn't for you, I have to really say that I would have never been able to put food on the table in years to come. I remember when you were in the studio with my dude, and I used to sneak in from the remix sessions. Dog, all you told us to do was, if you want to stay and hear and learn, come. If you don't, it's all good. And I stayed, and thank you, man. Because my daughter at 9 can eat, because I was able to expand myself. And I appreciate you giving me the tools to be able not just to rap anymore, to create, to produce. I have a bunch of mentors, young kids under me, everything, and I thank you for that.
No, thank you.
If it wasn't for that connection.
Thank you. That shit means the world to me.
The only question I have for you, and this is more selfish for my daughter, and when you speak about what you want to bring, because improvisers or not, we all come from situations. No one's story, I think, is better than anything else. But we all are here to learn and build for the future and for young ones who want to achieve. What is a quote that has lasted with you from the time of, you just even seeing Drake, when you used to talk about this guy, and it sounded like Cardinal, and I was like, it's okay. You had such a faith in him, and I cannot express to you in words how you look. What was this wisdom that was carried in you that has lasted you up until now, where you actually saw the vision, and you were a walking vision, my friend, just like my guys that pointed to you. How did you keep that? Just one quote that that has kind of been bouncing time to time, that's just kept you level.
Okay, quote, cliche, whatever, right? Okay, so from that perspective, I would say, when I was making music and I was a kid and I was trying to figure it out and no one cared and no one wanted to listen to it, and I always remember this one day, for some reason, I was sitting there watching these cars drive by being like, man, I need a fucking car. How can I ever afford a car? How can I ever afford insurance? How can I ever afford to pay for any of this shit? How am I gonna do it, man? What the hell? And I'm making this music. And then you flash forward a year later, and everything's going really well. And me and Drake are killing it. And I'm still doing the exact same thing I was doing a year ago. Okay? I didn't suddenly have some miraculous knowledge given to me that enabled me to then be it just happened one day. So the quote that I lean on from that experience is believe in yourself. Because like ultimately, no one can tell you shit. And if no one can validate you, that doesn't really matter. Because then a year later, you're winning and you're doing the exact same thing that nobody was validating you for. So it's just kind of like only you are gonna support yourself, and you just have to believe in yourself and be passionate about your own shit. And that to me was like the answer to all of it, so.
Thank you, my brother.
Oh, that's amazing.
I wanted to first thank you for your recent post about Palestine on Insta.
Always.
It's incredibly important, the way that you use your platform to talk about these injustices that are happening worldwide. And I want to know words that you would give to musicians everywhere on speaking up about these injustices that are happening regardless of the kind of backlash that they would get or the ways that they would be set back in their career or by labels or anything of that sort.
That's, I mean, like, I love this conversation, but that's a very difficult one to breach for a lot of musicians or artists in general. I think it's unique for everybody. And the truth of the matter is that as horrific as Palestine is to watch unfold, and has been for me my whole life to watch unfold, that I have a personal relationship to that story and to that message, right? And there's a lot of other horrific atrocities that have unfolded over the last decade or 5 years or whatever, and you can list them off with more deaths and more horrific things that I haven't spoke about and I haven't mentioned. And so I would just say it's tough, because where do you start and where do you stop? And how much do you want to drown yourself in it? So it's a personal question and a personal answer, I would say. And so for me personally, for me to sleep at night, I have to do what I have to do for myself. But I'm not necessarily doing it for anyone else, as in like, hey, look at me. Look, I did. I want you all to see what I did. This is personal. It's for me. It's so I can sleep at night, so I can be okay with myself. But there's more, and it's hard to sleep at night still, because there's a lot more that I didn't speak about. There's a lot more that I haven't said. So I would just say for everyone who finds themselves in that situation is to, first of all, educate yourself so you can understand what you're talking about, which is probably most of the battle for most people. And then secondly, find, support the things that resonate with you so you feel good in your heart and you're gonna feel okay. Because we live in a pretty shitty world, so it's like if you want to start looking around and find things to be critical of, you're never gonna get to sleep at night. And it's really challenging. But that one that you just mentioned is very close to my heart. And yeah, that's a tough one for me. You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, 40. How you doing?
How you doing, my brother?
Man, I gotta thank you for that post. First of all, my name's Conversations. That's the name I go by. We have a lot of mutual friends in common. I was texting Rigo, AK, Ali. I'm with the Reps Up guys.
Yep.
Man, I've been trying to get a hold of you since 2016. I was getting out of the military. I'm an Army veteran. I was a paratrooper in the Army for 12 years in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got out unscathed. I'm alive. I'm grateful for that. Most importantly, I was in the infantry.
Likewise. Likewise, I'm grateful. Not likewise, I was in the infantry.
Okay. So I didn't know anything about MS until I heard of your story, and then my cousin ended up being diagnosed with it. I tried to reach out to you because I found some breakthrough I'm sure you have access to everything. I DM'd in 2016 for the stem cells saying, hey, 40, look at this. This could help you. And then I was getting ready to release. So in October 2018 is when I released, which the anniversary 5 years just passed. And man, I've been wanting to connect with you for a very long time. Just to get in that studio. When I heard you were building that studio, all I wanted to do was figure out a way through the guys to get to you. Can you please make that happen for me?
I'm gonna make it happen.
Can we talk after? Is that
yeah,
okay with you?
I'll find you after. I know who to call. I'll make it happen.
So Conversations, my new song, Broken Hearts, is out. I wanted to really share that with you.
All right, say no more. I'm gonna take
Thank
it
you
all
so
in, my
much.
brother.
I love you, bro.
Thank
you for what you're doing. Listen, you got a lot of balls, because I know people in the industry that are trying to keep their, like the sister was talking about, cushion their careers and not do certain things. You're an inspiration for a lot of people. I swear to God, if I was in your position, the things that I would be saying, just my military mindset, that's all. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate you so much. It's my guy Gifty right there.
What's up, 40s?
How you doing, brother?
What advice would you give someone who's a well-rounded musician but getting into the production side?
I would say the biggest thing about being a producer is knowing how to use your tool. So people always ask me like, oh, what's the best DAW? Is Pro Tools better than this or is better than that? What's the favorite one? And my answer is always the same. The best DAW is the one you are the best at. It's pretty simple. DAWs to me are languages. Is French better than Spanish? Or is that better than Arabic or English or Farsi? What's better? I don't know. It's a matter of perspective, right? So what are you better at? If you were better in Farsi, then write your book in Farsi, dude. Don't write it in English. What the hell are you doing? You nuts? It sounds horrible in English. Write it in Farsi. So it's the same thing for DAWs. Like, what are you using Cubase for? Use Logic. You know how to use Logic. Stay on Logic, man. You nuts? So it's just whatever you're better at. It's you want to get good at your language. My language is Pro Tools. So I every day study Pro Tools to get better at speaking the language of Pro Tools. But if I don't want to use Ableton because I don't know how to talk Ableton. It's not, that has nothing to do with whether or not one is superior or not to the other. It has to do with what you know. So my advice to you is pick a DAW or pick a platform or a program or Contact or Fruity or whatever you want to pick and learn it and get good at it like you're good at your music, your instrument. Pick your new production instrument and because you could just pick MPC. If you get that good at an MPC, you don't need a DAW. You don't need anything. Right? It just depends what you're that good at. You pick an OP1 by Teenage Engineering. Done. You can do everything on there. Right? Use your iPhone. You can make a whole album on an iPhone if you want. Right? You see what I'm saying? It's just about pick the tool and just learn your tool. Be a master of your domain in that space.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Sir.
My name is Joshua Ogunlay.
How are you doing, Joshua?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. So funny enough, I lived in Texas when I was younger, and I moved back in 09. So,
Crazy.
sir, I can literally tell you the day that me and my friends downloaded Ransom. I had it on an iPod Shuffle, and I literally, like, in my mind, I'm thinking about the day I was standing in the middle of, like, recess, and I'm like,
amazing.
I'm going to end up in this industry.
Wow.
Funny enough, in 2010 and 11, I went to culinary school. Sir, you and I have a lot of connections, and I'm going to freak you out after. But my main question is, what was the big distinctive connection that you guys were like, we need Texas to leverage the message that Toronto is trying to share to the world?
That was Drake's sort of, like his relationship with Texas and like Houston and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think, well, first of all, Jazz Prince was the one who really discovered us. And Jazz Prince is Jay Prince's son, and Jay Prince is like, the godfather of Texas rap music and Ghetto Boys and Scarface and. So we went to Houston with Jay Prince and Jazz and saw a side of that city that I don't want to speak too much for Drake here, but that either of us had seen before or experienced before coming from this city. It was very different. And he fell in love with that place. And it was just a very close to his heart and to his home. But that I would have to say, as far as Texas is concerned, that's his journey, much more so than it is mine. I mean, I'm there with him. I made Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, but like that was his passion and what he fell in love with in that culture down there, and then our relationship with Jazz as well, and Jay Prince and our whole family in Houston. So we have like a special relationship with that place. But yeah, I don't know how to expand further than that. All right, thank you, Josh.
Oh, okay. I'm so comfortable sitting.
There you are.
Hi, my name is Adina. We've met already, but I came here because when I met you, I actually didn't even know who you were. We were at
That's the way I like it.
Yeah. And then I went and did my research, and as an artist, I don't know how many artists we have in the room that are singers, songwriters, but I'm here because I have producers and engineers that I really care about, and I really want to understand and learn about producing to make my relationship with my producers and engineers better, so I'm able to translate what I want out of my music and my sound to them better in a way that makes sense to them and not just to me, because I just have so many ideas.
More sauce.
Yes, more sauce.
Yeah.
And so
That's Drake's favorite, by the way.
Oh.
More sauce. Add more sauce. Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, because I felt like I was gonna ask you this question afterwards, but I feel like it could be shared with everyone else as well.
Mhm.
What you wish more artists had a good knowledge base of when working with them to make your relationship with them more harmonious in the studio?
So I'm assuming that's more of a great jacket, by the way. I'm assuming that's more of a technical question. So from that perspective, it's learning how to use an EQ and a compressor. Understanding EQ and understanding compression, those are the two tools that shape everything. That's all I need. I don't need nothing else. All I need is one EQ and one compressor. That's it. So once you understand how to use an EQ, excuse me, and can communicate that to your producer or your engineer, you're winning like right away. As soon as you're like, yeah, I need a little more top end at like 14K there, it's like, cool, you know? It's like, add some sprinkle. You know, it's just language, right? It's literally language at that point. Not language as a comparison to a DAW, but language as in like literally, how are you communicating the information and do you understand enough to communicate it? So what, if your question is what should you focus on understanding to be able to communicate better, I would probably say EQ first, compression second. Because then you can hear the compression, like, I don't like the way this sounds because the attack is wrong. I don't like the way that EQ is because it's the wrong frequency, right? You'll start to understand how to adjust things, how to make things less muddy, how to, right? It's all between EQ and compression for me. And then the next one is time-based effects like reverbs and delays and understanding the names of effects. That's probably the best advice I can give you. Know the names of the different effects. Chorus, reverb, delay, right? And then you can be like, hey, can you add more delay, right? I've never heard Drake say something like that to me in my life. He will use every other creative word, and I have to figure out what it is. So it's more helpful when you can communicate efficiently. So I would say understanding EQ and understanding the name of the effects to define them properly. You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Gil.
How you doing, Gil?
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming out. You know, I was at the 2019 Imsta Fest.
Yep.
And they had Hagler out there, right?
Ooh, that's my guy.
So he told a story about how Teenage Fever was a beat he sent to you, and it didn't have the J-Lo sample.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know, is there another song or like one of your favorites where it's like there was a connection made or there was like a last-minute change or anything like that?
I mean, so for that one specifically, it was more of a situation of like, Hags is a nasty drum programmer. So like he'll send me beats and the beats are fire, and then like I'm like, oh, I'll show it to the boy, and he's like, yo, I love the drums on that. I'll be like, cool. So I'll just take everything off, I'll take the drums and I'll flip the music. So often a lot of things like that happen for us, where Drake's a savage. First of all, he gives two shits about like producers, not in a negative way, but in the sense of like, oh, you made that beat, cool. I like the drums, take the drums, right? You know that other beat, the bass is sick. Take the bass out of that. We're actually, we're just gonna use the intro to that guy's beat and then delete his whole beat, but keep his intro. Then put his intro on these drums, and then 40. Can you add something on top of those drums? I'm like, yes, sir. Right? Like that's how we're making shit. So it's like. And of course, everybody after is like, yes, I made a Drake song. You know, it's like no one has an issue with that. But at the end of the day, that is sort of his process. So we do a lot of records like that, where it's just he's picking pieces that he's resonating with. Or it might be like, yo, I love the sample flip or the sample chop, but I hate the drums. And then he'll just take we'll get the files, and he'll take the sample flip, and he'll send it to Wonder, and he'll send it to Finals, and he'll send it to Ozzy, and he'll send it to me, and like, we'll all try, and then whoever tries the best wins. So we do that often. It's like, it's not a competition. It's just like, yo, whatever. Whoever got the goods, like we'll take it.
Hi, 40. My name's Joe Path.
Hello.
I'm an artist who produces my own music, and you've been to Summer Studios at Artscape Launchpad, where you chatted it up with some of my colleagues, and I missed you, but great to see you here. So
likewise.
Thanks for taking questions. I wanted to ask, you talked about how producers, but also artists, go through the process of wanting to continuously fix and better your music and drawing the line for when you would be done. And you talked about how you're unhappy with most of your stuff in the sense that you could go back and you hear things that you would fix later. I'm wondering what you would do with your song Unthinkable, one of your earlier tracks that...
Okay, Unthinkable might be one of like the very few on the list of songs that I'm actually pretty happy with.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I love Unthinkable. I love Jungle. Jungle's one of my favorites. Like I'm really proud of Jungle when I hear it to this day. I'm like, oh, it sounds great. I love this song. But there's not a lot for me. But to be honest, when I said it on this stage like an hour ago, the two songs that popped in my head right away were Unthinkable and Jungle, being like two songs I'm really proud of and I really like.
So could you,
I thought it fits there too, yes.
is there another song that you, like another example that you could think of where you could explain to us, okay, I'd go back and change this for this song?
Most of them, from a mix perspective, where I find like there's technical things I could do much tighter or much better. Most of my beef is technical. You know, it's kind of like, the bass isn't hit right, or the kick is muffled, or the vocal's too bright and it hurts my ears, or like, you know, that kind of stuff often bothers me as an engineer and a mixer. Like, I can't let go. Like, I have the hardest time in the world. Musically, I have that process happens to me before the end. So it happens to me like before Drake records. Once Drake's made it into a song, I'm usually like, oh shit, it's pretty good. He figured it out. I didn't see that. He saw it. Amazing. But after we've delivered, it's almost always technical shit that's just killing me. I'm just like, oh, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. It could sound so much better. And there's songs like I don't like, but those are usually mostly because of like completely ignorant, violent content that I just like can't stomach, so I want nothing to do with. I'm trying to think of like a musical piece that like I could look at the back of any album and be like, oh, I hate all four of those songs, you know, like musically for some reason or another, you know. Yeah, like from a creative side, I feel like I let go from a creative side. Like, you know, Marvin's Room, when we made Marvin's Room, Drake came in the studio and we made it at Marvin's Room, the studio in LA. Hence why I named the beat Marvin's Room .1 or whatever. And he comes in, he's like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's crack. Leave that, don't touch it. And I'm like, don't touch it. Like, dude, I just started, I'm not done. Like, fuck off. Like, come back in half an hour, you know? I just started this shit. He's like, don't touch it, don't change anything. So it's like, from that perspective, I'm like, fuck, all right, whatever. So I leave it, and I'm like, this shit is whack, fucking weirdo. What are you gonna do with this thing? And then he makes Marvin's Room, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it's pretty good. Like at that point, I let go. It's not up to me anymore. I don't get to decide whether or not it's good. It's not up to me to like it or not like it. It's up to everybody else to like it or not like it. And once it goes into the world and people like it and have accepted it, whomever they may be, it's now out of my hands to disagree with them there. You know? And so I sort of approach it from that perspective. So once we've made it musically, I can let go there. For me, I can let go. But usually from a mix standpoint, I can never let go. And then, but also musically, I let go because Drake said he likes it. That's the defining point for me, right? If it was somebody else, I'm still like, you know? Like, I don't know, like I listened to Joy by Party Next Door. It was on one of his albums. And I remember when I was making it, I was like, oh, this song is so great. I love this song so much. And then I played it and I was like, oh, it could be better. I could have done better. I thought it was better than this. Like I thought, not the song, my contribution to it, right? Like what I had done. Never. Yeah, it's just me. Like, what do you mean, like technically? Yeah, sometimes. Like Chris might take me like, oh, I think you should do a vocal up on this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'll do a vocal up for him. But like usually I'm calling Chris, like, Chris, tell me how to make it better. Like, fucking, what's wrong? Tell me something, you know? Like, nah, nothing. Usually it's just, we just deliver. And it's like I was saying before about it's all subjective. Like I remember we did Work and Gadget mixed Work for Rihanna. And, well, me and Gadget mixed it together. And Manny Marroquin mixed it. And we get Manny's mix back, and I'm like, And I listen to Gadget's mix, and I'm like, oh, Gadget's mix is crushing Manny. Love you, Manny, but Gadget's mix was crushing him. And I'm like, oh, God. So I called Jay Brown. I'm like, yo, did you get the Gadget mix? He was like, yeah, we're going with the Manny one. I'm like, no, go with the Gadget one, bro. What the fuck? The Gadget one is 10 times better. You can't use the Manny mix. You gotta use Gadget's mix. And they used Manny mix. And the record went #1. So now who the fuck am I? And what the fuck does it matter? When I call Jay Brown, like, you fucked up. And he's like, I fucked up. The record's #1, you idiot. You fucked up. What does it matter? The song matters at that point, right? So it's like, it's tough. From a technical standpoint, too, it doesn't even fucking matter. The mix, the night is good, it's bad, I don't know. Do you like the song? So it's tough. The struggle for me is much more so taking it out of the artist's hands than it is out of mine. My battle is usually a technical one. Because I work with Drake and I trust him, so I just trust that if he's put his foot down and said creatively, this is what I want it to be, I say, okay, fine. So at that point, it becomes easy for me. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of you guys just being here and attending. You guys are all here because you guys are passionate. You guys are all here because you guys want to learn. And thank you for Imsta Festa and all these other organizations that provide a space, right, for everyone to connect and learn. But what happens with rejection? I think this is an issue that a lot of people have. All these people want to connect. A lot of individuals, right?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah, this is a question. This is a question. Because I just feel like, especially when we're passionate, right? We want to do something and we know we have the drive and we want to connect, but at the end of the day, we can't do it alone. It's all about community, it's all about building. But what if you cannot make that connection? Or what if you try to and you continue to, but it's like, okay, is it stalkerish now, or is it, how do you deal with that, right? So what advice would you give for everyone in terms of how to deal with rejection, or should they keep trying, or how is it perceived? And
Okay, so when it comes to rejection in this business, this is why this business is one of the most brutal businesses on the planet, right? And when we're talking about like a very like misogynistic, superficial level for women in this business as artists who are trying to get into this business and they just care about what you look like and all that bullshit, right? So it's like there's that side of it, of dealing with that. But like from working with Drake, that man shits on 100 things I make and likes one. So you better be able to pick your ego up off the floor every single day. When you think you did something incredible, and it just sits there and no one will ever hear it. And it gets pushed to the side for something else that you think is not incredible. And you just gotta hold it every single day. And if you think I don't have to have that conversation with Boy Wonder, with T-Minus, with myself, when I'm crying about being crushed and broken, and we're talking about my ego, right? It's a balance, it's a fight with ego of how to be like, nah, it's okay, I can take more rejection and keep going. This business is rejection.
And I wanted to say that it's not only this industry, every industry. So the fact that you guys are here, it's because you're passionate and you want to learn and you have that drive, so don't stop. That was my whole point. And thank you so much for creating spaces like this and attending today and allowing people to have this contact, because that's what it's about, right? So don't stop, keep going, you got this, okay?
Yeah, but like, just be ready for the
Yes,
rejection,
yes.
right? Like you deal with it every day, it'll never stop.
Okay, but wait, before we leave, you want everyone to stand. We're not gonna make this too chaotic, but we're gonna get 40 if you want. We're just gonna get a picture with everybody here, yeah.
I don't want to turn my back on everybody. Was good? We did good?
And I'm so sorry for people that we weren't able to get into.
I know, me too. I hate
I'm
that.
so sorry. We tried, but it's just that we have other people coming in, so my bad, okay? Okay.
Oh, we don't have a photographer yet. I'm not turning around.
Photographers, videographers. If we want, we could just do a quick video in the meantime. Yeah.
Here we go. We got a photographer.
Keegan, take some pictures with this one.
Well, all of you guys get in. We should do a video. Everyone, we should just be like 40 or
Keegan, here.
whatever it is. Okay. Yeah.
Take some shots. Really quick. Get a hold of it. Everybody now, come on, let's have a big Toronto.
Okay, we're gonna do a video. Everyone say Toronto. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Any context you want to see?
Thank you guys. We are going to clear the room.
No, thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming and listening to me to talk shit. It's amazing. I appreciate all of you. Brother, you good?